You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right, good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Oh my God.
We got a decent amount to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. We ran out of gratuitous coffee over here.
That's not good.
We usually have too much coffee because we have like extra coffee but like we actually ran out. So I had to go buy coffee for the first time.
Some generic coffee.
Got some Starbucks.
Yeah. Doesn't quite compare, I'm sure.
Starbucks is all right. Starbucks is okay. They like burn all their coffee. They just try to burn it so it always has like a similar taste. But it's pretty fresh beans, pretty good. Not gratuitous though. Not gratuitous. We have a bunch of coffee on its way up from Colombia because we're bringing coffee to Monerokon.
Nice.
We'll be providing coffee to. There's a cafe at Monerokon. At I can never say the name. Paranelli Polis, the venue where it's going to be.
It looks like a really cool venue. I saw some pictures of it.
Yeah, they have, I believe, like a Bitcoin cafe built into that venue, which is very cool. And they'll be serving up gratuitous coffee and hopefully accepting Monero. That would be tragic if they're only accepting Bitcoin, but I'm sure they'll be accepting Monero for that day. That should be good. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Just hanging, trying to get some stuff done. But
What was so wait, did we talk to you since you went to your conference? Have you been on since?
No, I don't think so.
Oh yeah. How was that?
It was really good. It was awesome. It was fun. Met a lot of people.
The Linux thing, if you want to tell.
Yeah, it was. So I spoke at Southeast Linux Fest last week, and I did a Graphene OS talk, which I think is on there. It should be on their YouTube channel. If you look up Southeast Linux Fest, it should be on there. I'll be uploading probably like a edited version to my channel at some point. But it was great. Met a lot of cool people. There were definitely some Monero people there. A lot of privacy people too. Not as much as Monerotopia, obviously, but there are a lot of people that knew Monero and what it was. And they were interested in talking about that. And I also, I think the one person I talked to that was also from Monerotopia was probably Luke Smith, because he was there and he also did a talk. But yeah, it was great. So if you're near Charlotte, North Carolina next year, you should come on down. It's awesome.
Awesome. Does Luke like help run that? Because I know he's big in the Linux thing, right?
No, he doesn't help run it. He's just he does like a talk every year.
Okay. What was his talk on?
His was on suckless software, which is a certain category of softwares developed by this group that are designed to be as minimal as possible and to just like work and not be bloated and stuff.
Okay. That's cool. Know nothing about that. Yeah, maybe I'll check out one of those conferences one of these days so I can start to.
Yeah, it's a bit more techy.
Yeah,
but
beyond me. Yeah, I got my graphene phone, man. I don't know, because I think we were talking about it last time when you weren't on.
Yeah, I saw I didn't see the whole stream, but I saw the beginning of it. And yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, exciting.
That's super. That's awesome.
I'm deciding, because we're heading out to Monerokon next week, and I was thinking of bringing this phone. What do you think is the best way to get it up and running on the cellular, like with a SIM card or something? Like what's the best approach there?
You could use pretty much any carrier you wanted, and you could get like a data only eSIM. But if you wanted one, like you could pay with Monero anonymously.
Yeah, I'm
There's
thinking
this.
like I want to
Yeah,
go the
yeah.
hardcore approach with this phone, just so I can live that
Oh yeah,
life
of course.
and
You have to
see
go
what it
all out.
is. Yeah.
So I use this right now, and it works pretty well. It's a little bit expensive if you have to use a lot of data, but it's called jmp.chat. And if you go to jmp.chat/esim, this guy, he sells data-only eSIMs, which you can pay for with Monero, and it costs about $7 per gigabyte, which is kind of a lot, but it never expires. So if you don't use it that much, you can have like 1 gigabyte for several months.
Okay, I might do that. Did we have him? I might have had him on a long time ago. I gotta look at his website to see if that. It's just jmp dot. What's that website?
Chat.
What'd you say? You cut out for a sec.
Oh, sorry. It's jmp.chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. That's awesome. All right, yeah, I'm gonna try to do the hardcore approach. That's cool. And then how long does it take to get the card?
Right now, it's on a wait list because like the
Oh,
eSIM part is in beta, so it depends. You might get in time, you might not. Worst
okay.
case, you can try another one called silent.link, which is similar service.
Yeah, that one I think we advertised, right? Did we have them at Monerotopia on the in Adoption Alley? Silent.link?
I don't think we did.
Because they accept Monero too, right?
They do, yeah. They recently started accepting Monero.
Okay. Or maybe you tried to get them, right? Was that?
Oh, I think I tried to get the jmp.chat guy. Yeah, yep.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll do that, and then I'll try to have them on a Monerotopia too. That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
All right, write that down. What else we got going on? Anything else you want to bring up before we hop into the regular show?
You want me to bring up those few of those news?
Oh yeah, I guess so, right? Because I don't think Tony had that covered. So what do we have there? I mean, I think the big one was the local.
Let me see.
Monero.
Let me get my screen up here. I think this will actually work. Awesome, sweet. Yeah, so the first one was the Killnet threatens imminent Swift world banking attacks. Now you can think what you want of this. I feel like it might be a grift or a psyop.
Yeah.
But it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, what I thought was most interesting, right? Yeah, like it's probably most likely just some grifter or something, somebody just trying to get attention. But what's interesting is I literally just had this conversation the day before seeing this with Arctic Mine, actually. He was in town. We went out for dinner, and he just brought up a scenario. He's like, it's not completely far-fetched, some scenario where hackers try to take down the Swift network or the Visa network, particularly the Swift network in retaliation for what's going on with Russia basically being disconnected from the mainstream financial network. And so we were just talking. He was bringing it up as an example of something that could kind of happen overnight and change the entire landscape. And he was talking about in terms of would Monero, be ready for something like that. But it was just kind of shocking to then see that a day later, somebody saying we're taking down the Swift network. Doubt there's any validity to it, but pretty interesting to think about. I mean, I suppose it's possible, right? We might see something like this at some point in the future.
Nonetheless, that'd be interesting. It'd be devastating, but interesting, and it'd be interesting to see like how much more usage Monero would get, and if it could handle like a massive load at once.
Right, crypto in general, what would happen, right? I mean, there would definitely be a big shift overnight. It would awaken a lot of people, and just out of pure need, people would start experimenting with crypto. So interesting to think about. I thought it was good mentioning.
The Monero posted another darknet market going Monero only. This seems to be a common theme going on over the past year, at least, probably more, as that more and more darknet markets are just going Monero only because they're having trouble with Bitcoin, I guess.
Cipher market like a pretty decently known one? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I would imagine it would be. I'm not a darknet market user, so I'm not sure. But just this alone is already like, I'm definitely gonna look into that and see how big they are because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but what did they say in there? They basically said like they don't want to take the risk, right? Like they know that their I think they're saying most of their users still use Bitcoin, right? But they want to push them all over to Monero.
Yeah, they don't want the risk. Like say right here, we understand implications it brings for those who use it and not understand the risk. Many people just transfer Bitcoin directly from exchange sites to us, and that makes a big target for investigating forces.
Can you imagine you're going on
That's
the dark
crazy.
market and you're buying like
straight from Coinbase? You just send some Bitcoin straight over to this darknet market.
I don't get who those people are, because I mean it takes a little thinking, like there's a barrier of entry to go to a dark market, right? It's not like you're pulling up, whatever your typical web browser and you're just Googling it, right? It takes there's a little barrier of
A little
entry.
bit, yeah. But at
gotta
the same time, a lot of people think, and they're like almost lied into thinking that Bitcoin is like this super safe thing you can just use for whatever you want.
But if
So
they're the dark market people, I mean, I get, so there's literally just people there. I just don't understand who that person is, who's the archetype of that person is. That I would love to meet that person who's like go into the dark markets, but using Bitcoin for it. It just kind of blows my mind that person exists. Right? I don't know.
yeah. I think it's still in that transitionary period where there's like more and more people are realizing Monero is like what you should be using, but it's it's this very long transitionary period. But this is just another example of that taking place.
Yeah. Oh, we had a great talk with Arctic, but yes, we hung out. He came to New York. It was nice. Went out for pizza. Had a good chat. But I had him on a couple of days earlier, and we did an interview on. I think we put that up already. Recommend checking that out. That was a good one.
That's awesome.
Talking about essentially how he thinks Bitcoin is essentially perhaps more private than some Monero people want to give credit to. He thinks it's pseudonymy. The fact that it's pseudo anonymous does give it some pretty decent privacy. And so he goes into that basically from the standpoint of talking about blockchain surveillance. And he thinks, essentially, he doesn't think blockchain surveillance or chain analysis is really accurate at all, and to the point where it's kind of useless. And because of that, he thinks effectively that Bitcoin can't be as easily tracked and traced as some may claim. Obviously, it's kind of nuanced, right? Because he's kind of blowing me away as he's saying. We've all kind of heard him talk about it. But I'm like, so where does Monero stand versus Bitcoin? And obviously he thinks, well, Monero is completely essential. He always defaults back to the thing that interests him most about Monero actually is its scalability. He always goes back to that. Obviously he thinks Monero is way more private and quote unquote fungible than Bitcoin. And it's necessary. It's made necessary design improvements there. But he's most interested in its scalability, and he thinks that Bitcoin effectively is not a surveillance coin, as some of us like to refer to it as. So I thought that it was a good conversation, and now I'm looking to bring somebody else on to kind of counter some of his points. But really, what he was honing in on is the fact that he thinks that chain analysis and blockchain surveillance is really just a farce. Like that whole ecosystem is kind of bullshit, and that they're really not tracing as well as they claim to be.
That's crazy. And I mean, it could be because they're using whatever black magic proprietary algorithms they got that haven't been audited, that people can't even check. So they're basically they're convicting people on like the basis of this private proprietary software that hasn't even been audited by anyone externally. which is crazy.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy. But my kind of like struggle with him is like, but that's still a problem.
It's still
right?
a problem. Yeah.
The fact that these companies can exist and allege these things is the issue. And Arctic kind of gets to the point where he thinks eventually the rug will kind of be pulled out from under them from chain analysis companies. They'll be revealed that they're phony, kind of, in through the justice system will kind of be revealed that chain analysis can't really be used as a tool for determining if people committed a crime, because it's just not deterministic enough. And because of that, like that ecosystem will kind of go away. Whereas I kind of the standpoint that it's probably here to stay for quite some time, and there's this whole ecosystem that's been built, this feedback loop between the regulators and the exchanges and the chain analysis companies, right? Where it just makes sense for it to continue in perpetuity for some time, because they're all benefiting, just like any other thing, just like you have the pharmaceutical companies tied in with the government, right? And you have regulatory capture going on there. So just because of the nature of things, I see these chain analysis companies sticking around for a long time, becoming more powerful and influential. And I don't know. I don't see them disappearing overnight because of the court. I don't know. That's kind of where Arctic and I differ. I just kind of see. I guess I'm more of a pessimist. It's more of my negative view of the state apparatus in general, and how it tends to work in concert with these types of companies, and these things usually just end up getting worse, right? It becomes this way to control people, and so I don't see it going away anytime soon. And it's Bitcoin's quote unquote traceability that allows this ecosystem to exist in the first place. So that's kind of where we differ there. But definitely check out. It was a good combo.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Arctic Mind's, like, regardless of like opinion, he's super freaking smart, super interesting to always listen to.
Yes. Yeah.
But then, yeah, I guess you could mention this one real quick, because you posted this tweet.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought this was kind of it was a big story. So, a local Monero user, has been arrested and accused of money laundering and operating as a money transmitter, essentially without a license. He was, I think, the top most active local Monero user, right, for cash sales of Monero. I believe he was like,
yeah, he was one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. So this shouldn't be like blown away news to anybody. We've seen this happen before with I remember it was the local Bitcoins guy in Florida years ago was kind of the first to go down for this. He was accused, I believe it was the same thing, acting as a money transmitter without a license and money laundering effectively. And we always voice that warning. It's, if you're going to use local Monero, you need to make sure you're using it as somebody that's just looking to trade peer-to-peer, not as a business, right? That's really the distinction. If you're profiting, if you're in the act of selling Monero for profit, not at his own personal need, then you run into this area of being defined as a money transmission business. So that's the risk there. And so I don't know the details beyond that, whether he was, effectively, if they're alleging that he was getting Monero from dark market sales and then selling that for cash. It's unfortunate to see, because this is going to scare, it's just another tactic to kind of clamp down on Monero, on the on-ramps and off-ramps. So I think it's important that we realize that, using, at least here where I am in my jurisdiction and in the United States as a whole, as far as I understand, it's perfectly legal to trade Monero with somebody peer-to-peer at a personal need. You could, you have $100 worth of Monero and you're in need of some cash. You can find somebody who has that cash. You give them the Monero, they give you the cash, and there's nothing wrong with that. But where this guy is being accused of crossing the line is they're trying to say he was a money transmission business, which is bullshit to begin with. The fact that you would have to even be, I disagree with those regulations to begin with, obviously.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But I'm just saying you got to be careful because they do exist, and they're actually they use them to crack down on people for these purposes. So I think it's important that we don't scurry away from local Monero. We continue to use it, but just be smart about it. You got to be smart about it, right? You can't be I don't know. You gotta your actions and the way you portray yourself has to be as somebody genuinely using it for peer-to-peer purposes, for buying and selling crypto for personal use. So good lesson to be learned. But that guy through somebody posted, what was his name? Dave, I forget his name.
Oh, the guy in the tweet, David Scotties.
Yeah, so I did some Googling on it. I posted a YouTube video. I hope it's. I don't hope, but it looks like that's the same person because I found a YouTube video where he's being interviewed, and it's actually a really good interview. He seems like a really, really cool dude, like somebody that I would love to have on the show. He's an extreme agorist, and he was making some really, really interesting points. And at the end of the interview, he mentions how he is an Agora desk user. So I assume same name, probably. I don't know. Could be the same person. So I want to.
That's interesting. You should try and get him on.
Yeah, well, he's probably kind of busy right now. He's not really looking to talk about it, and I'm sure his attorneys would advise him not to be out there talking about it. But he came across as a really genuine, peace-loving, volunteerist, agorist, like well-studied in his understanding of the philosophies behind why agorism is an ethically positive thing. And yeah, here he is getting accused by the state of high crimes, which is sad.
Yes, that's crazy.
All right, yeah, let's bring this. Wow, we went 20 minutes already. All right, so those who are coming on after us, maybe you could pick up the speed a little bit.
All right, let's do the price report with Bawdy. Let's go.
Let's go.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Yo, Bawdy.
Good morning. There. Good morning.
How are you guys doing this lovely morning?
Good, man. Good. It was a little slow for me. We had a late night last night. We went to LCD Sound System last night. They were playing.
Is that like a concert?
Yeah. They're good. Really good.
What kind of music you're into?
Well, LCD Sound System is like electronic, I guess. Yeah. They're
cool.
They're from like the early 2000s. Really good. I was actually supposed to meet a Monero friend, but he didn't make it up. He had some car issues on the way up.
Huh. I went to a restaurant last night.
His name D Martian. People should know him. He's jumped on this show a few times. He's a big LCD Sound System guy, but he didn't make it up.
Oh, cool. Actually. Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that would be into that kind of music.
Yeah, we went like, I guess, a year ago, 6 months ago together. First time we had a blast. So they were playing again, and he was trying to come up, but he didn't make it. But yeah, he's definitely that type of guy. He's a big fan. But what happened for you last night?
I went to a restaurant last night. I was going to say that it's funny here in Mexico. You go to like a nice restaurant and they're playing like club music, like almost club music, like the whole time. Like you think, okay, we're going to go to a nice fancy dinner. And then it's just like, boom, 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 boom. Like, okay, well, sure. I remember being in Tulum, and like every restaurant we went to every night was like, it was just club music.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me. We go to Puerto Rico quite a bit because Sunita's family's from Puerto Rico, so we were there on Easter, during Easter. So they're also very very Catholic there, but they also have that party element that doesn't go away no matter what. So we were on the the beach on Easter, and it was like everybody was like, the speaker to person ratio has to be the of highest density of anywhere on the in the world. Like, you take one step and it's like everybody's a DJ on the beach. They're just like have their huge speaker sets. They're all rocking out. Boats pulling up with their speaker systems. It's fun. It gets a little exhausting now. It's a little much.
Have you ever heard of the decentralized dance party?
I did. Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, these guys would carry around like a small FM transmitter, and then they would hand out radios. And so like they would just go randomly to different crowds, like different places in the city, like in the middle of the day, like in the middle of a work day. And yeah, they'll just like hand out radios and get everyone like dancing and partying for, whatever time period people were around waiting for the subway, whatever. But I thought it was a cool idea. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, the guy who runs it, I think he was on a Narco Poco when I was interviewed on there, or it was the conference, but it was during like 2020 during the lockdown. They did a remote thing. I don't know if it was Narco Poco. It was related to it.
That's where I met him, actually.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. That's where I've discovered him as well. All right, man. So how we doing in price? Try to keep it somewhat short since I've been blabbing all morning. We're already like
okay,
30 minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, Monero price has been not really too much has changed. We kind of took a dip. You can see that's the weekly chart. We dipped down below basically the really kind of the drop deadline, the line that we really wanted to hold. That's kind of depressing, kind of sad. That's kind of basically what happened over the past week. Monero and the rest of crypto markets kind of continued to bleed out. So at this point, we're in terms of Monero USD, we're firmly inside of the back inside of this bear market sort of channel down here. Then there's no reason to say that has to continue. We're seeing some of these kind of these wicks here. You see some wicks down there. It's possible, right, that we could that these wicks could be a sign of some temporary bottom or trying to form a temporary bottom. Perhaps it takes another few weeks. Looking at this chart right now, it does kind of strike me how we get these crazy big wicks to the downside midweek, but I don't really see hardly any of them to the upside. I guess we got one right there, but I look at that and I want to start talking crazy conspiracies and shit, but we'll avoid that for today. This is Monero Bitcoin right here, and we're basically in this kind of downward channel. We're coming up on to me what's a very important support line. Oh, let's go to the weekly, right? So right, that's kind of like our lifetime triangle support line. Like we talked about a couple months ago, it's totally unsurprising that we're inside this little channel here. Did you say something, Doug? Did you have something for me here?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard you say something. Okay, so I mean, with this chart, there's really probably not much exciting to expect to happen here. Maybe there's a chance we kind of form a bottom, kind of come back up eventually. But we're looking here at the next month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months, just kind of hanging out, boring action inside that channel. There's not much happening with the divergences, kind of just hovering around that 0 point. When we saw the big crash recently, we saw the divergences go to the negative side, which almost always happens, very common whenever Monero price crashes. Binance and KuCoin and all those other lovely exchanges love to just do a bunch of volume down there at negative prices to Kraken, which I think is part of the reason it kind of explains somewhat these big wicks down. We've talked about this before, where it seems like they try to hit Monero harder than the other coins. So let's go take a look at. Actually, let's stop for a moment and let's talk about some of the fundamental things that happened this week. So we had the Fed meeting. We had a FOMC meeting this week. It wasn't really a factor. There was a little bit of volatility around that of trading around that time frame, but the Fed didn't say anything that was surprising. It really, I tried to watch the meeting. I got through about half of it, and I said, wow, this is boring. These guys are just asking the same questions over and over again. The Fed didn't raise rates. This was like the first time that they haven't raised rates in, I think, 10 months now. So, but the market expected it. So you think, oh, the Fed, is going to pause and no rate hike, and the market should pump now. It's like, well, the markets have kind of already pumped quite a lot in terms like of the NASDAQ and the S&P. We're basically, as we talked about last week, for example, here's the NASDAQ sitting at a very important resistance point. It was basically the very first peak after coming off the all-time highs last year, or sorry, the all-time highs in 2021. So the NASDAQ is sitting there. As we talked about last week, we're looking at standard deviations. That's what this blue line is here, Bollinger Band standard deviations. There's a whole bunch of clusters of standard deviations from different timeframes that are all sitting right there. To me, this is a spot to look at the NASDAQ to take a pause, to at least experience some resistance. We're also looking at the S&P hitting some of those same levels. This line right here, to me, is kind of important. I wouldn't expect the S&P or the NASDAQ or stock markets to really push much higher than this, much higher than they've already gone. Let's see. Let's take a look at the inflation numbers, because those also came out this week, and we're actually seeing good movement here. Like, this is what we want to see. We're almost like I kind of feel like we've moved past this peak. We're in the optimistic portion now that inflation will actually get under control. I mean, as compared to what it was for the past couple of years, inflation is always there. It's always going up. It's always out of control. The government's always, a piece of shit. But they'll just be like regular pieces of shit instead of how bad they've been the past couple of years. Anyways, that's one way of framing it. But the point is that we saw the CPI drop now down to 4%, which is like that's really good. The producer price index is basically back. I mean, the blue line here is back in trend with the past couple decades or longer. The orange line here is the core inflation rate. So that's like all inflation minus food and energy. That is more sticky. Again, rents are still a problem. A lot of that is the labor market combined with the housing market. So this is definitely more sticky. Let's go back just a little bit and just to get a historical perspective of where we are on inflation, generally speaking. So you can see that this time frame right here is the 1990s. A lot of growth, a lot of stock market growth, a lot of technology growth. And then even after, for the past 2 decades since 2000, this is where inflation has been, the official numbers. The numbers have been in this zone right here. So that's really where we want to get back to think that we could just get back to some like normal steady state, growth, and not have like crazy times with the whole pandemic stuff and money printing craziness. So anyways, the point is that CPI is finally getting back into trend. You can see CPI down here. It's at the high level of the trend, but CPI is actually very close to back into trend. The core inflation right here is still high, right? We really need to get back down to this level, something like 2%. That's where core inflation has been for a long time. So we're not there yet. We're on the positive end of that it gives us the hope that some kind of normalization can return. But the government's still going to have to be careful with this. We also had the debt ceiling was resolved, at least for a while. So there's going to be like another cool $1 million heading down the pipe there. And there's kind of a question over where it comes from. There's a whole bunch of money in the reverse repo markets. You can see that the reverse repos are kind of taking a dip here. They've fallen out of this triangle. I'm not sure how relevant this chart is for us anymore in terms of like crypto prices or even in terms of stock market prices. It's probably still a little bit relevant because stocks have been kind of continuing to make their way up over the past couple weeks as the reverse repos have dropped. But so, yeah, I mean, I do keep an eye on that chart. I'm not sure how relevant it is at the moment. Dollar index is basically just kind of flat. As we had talked about a couple weeks ago, it felt like we were reaching an inflection point there in terms of a convergence of resistances. And sure enough, that's played out. We've kind of come down. At this particular moment, we're sitting at some standard deviation lines, and I'm going to show you guys some really cool charts probably next week, maybe in 2 weeks. But when I talk about these standard deviations and these statistical levels, it'll make more sense with these charts I'm going to show you. But basically, the dollar is starting to hit some long-term standard deviations that were formed in large part by its fall from from the heights up there. So anyways, what I'm saying is that this looks like a spot for the dollar to maybe try and form a bottom here. It could take some time. Overall, the markets to me look flat. They look blah. I'm not convinced necessarily that they're going to do one thing or another. It's possible that we've entered a period of just kind of flat sideways stagnation. This right here is the Bitcoin and Ethereum chart. I did want to take a little bit of a look at volume and show you guys. Let's go to the daily. So this is the moving average of volume. It's the 5-day. Let's go to the weekly. All right, there we go. This is a 1-week moving average of volume. You can see that volume has basically been dropping off ever since price has been coming up. So I'm not necessarily sure if that's a good sign. Probably a lot of it is related to the attacks going on in crypto in general and the exchanges and the cutting off of a lot of the banking access. So that probably has something to do with it. In general, overall, I like the Bitcoin plus ETH market cap chart. It feels like a cleaner chart to me. So for example, we've got this was our August peak right there. That's where these two horizontal lines come from. You can see that 2021, that was the summer low. And then this was kind of like the last stop before things crashed crazy in 2022 in June. So that's what those horizontal lines are, just so that you can have some reference. They're not, they are significant. In this case, these horizontal lines are important for, you can see they kind of acted as support for price for a while. Now we're on the negative side of that. Overall, like the fat lady hasn't sung on this, on a potential for us to continue going to the upside with crypto overall, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other stuff. We're still inside of the broader structure, right? There's kind of like this wedge structure, or sorry, broadening structure happening here. We found some support right at that spot. So, and then overall, Bitcoin and Ethereum are just kind of like following this channel down. You might want to try and say that this is a bullish flag. We came up, and then okay, this is a bullish flag that will eventually break to the upside. I'm not really sure what I think about it. In terms of like how to play this, how to think about these markets, I wanted to make a comment today about you have your HODL and your trading stack, and then personally for my trading stack, there's the long-term trades and there's the short-term trades. So I regard Monero as basically my HODL. And then on my trading stack, as I mentioned the past couple of weeks, I've been exiting positions, and I should have specified, I've been exiting my short-term positions. I'm still holding some of those longer-term positions because, like I said, the fat lady hasn't sung here. We're still largely inside the structure. There is the potential for us to go back to the upside. It's just that there's so much uncertainty with the markets. One thing that's important to think about is that despite all of the bad news and everything that's happened, crypto prices, Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular, have managed to hold on pretty well. We haven't seen, like, even this March crash that happened with the banking crisis, or the miniature banking crisis, or whatever we want to call it. We haven't seen that kind of crazy drop, even with all the attacks on crypto. So there is a good case to be made here that there is potential to try and break out of this thing to the upside. I would like to see this thing happen, unfold in real time. I would love to, to be able to get on here with you guys or on Twitter and then say, hey, these charts are starting to break to the upside. But in terms of like short-term plays, for me personally, there's not enough clarity on the markets or where it's going. And then maybe the last thing that I'll say here today is that in terms of Bitcoin dominance, in terms of where the markets are going to go for the short term and the long term, Bitcoin dominance continues to make breaks to the upside. And on the short term, this is something that we should expect to probably continue. This is in large part driven by the attacks of the SEC. There's a lot of uncertainty over, like Gensler couldn't even say in front of Congress whether he thinks ETH is a security or not, even though the CFTC says it's not. Gensler might think it is. And again, it's just about clarity. I'm not trying to make an argument about whether ETH is or is not a security at this exact moment. But the point is that all of these coins are now in question, in limbo, over whether they are not securities. So Bitcoin is a big recipient of transfers of funds as a result of that. People don't want to be in those coins. They might get attacked. They're afraid. They're fearful, etc. So Bitcoin dominance is going to experience and likely to continue experiencing positive effects from this on the short term. However, there's a broader thesis emerging here. And once the idea is that, okay, crypto is under attack right now. Crypto might also be under quote unquote attack, right? This could be just like a big setup by the cabal on the inside to sort of like create the cycle, to create the thing, the impetus that will be needed for the next bull market. But where I'm going here with this is that at some point, it's going to start to become more clear how these attacks are going to play out, whether or not the SEC can actually make a good case in court. We're going to get a glimpse of that. We'll get like a premonition of how that might play out when we see the Ripple case continue. Because if the SEC fails to win in that Ripple case, then that's going to provide a lot of a precedent for the other cases and lawsuits that they're bringing. By this time next year, and especially by maybe the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, so 1 to 2 years from now, we should have some significant level of clarity over what's happening. Right now, there's still a lot up in the air. Probably Congress combined with the presidency, they're Democrat versus Republican. Sorry, not in that order. The Biden Democratic presidency versus the Republican Congress. They're probably not going to pass any like regulations, laws, legislative clarity. But the courts might give us some clarity over the next year and a half. We're going to get things like discovery. We're going to see if Binance gets an injunction against its assets to be frozen. We're going to start to see maybe like some summary judgment motions. Things will start to become more clear. And the thesis is that once that clarity starts to appear on the horizon in 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 years, that could be the impetus that drives the next bull market, that continues the 4-year cycle. So, I think that's where things are headed. For now, expect Bitcoin dominance to rise. For now, again, things are just kind of like wishy-washy. We could experience a time period over the next months of just stagnation. We kind of had crypto stagnation. I think stocks could be following that soon. I'm not exactly top calling in the stock market yet, but I'm feeling close. I'm feeling like there's that potential. So we'll just have to keep a track of all the macro signs, and hopefully we can get some good clarity on where the markets are going, and maybe make some plays here. Like I said, for now, just be careful, be ready to go either way, right? Be ready for the market to go either way. Don't be taking massive risks, and keep your head on a swivel. So that's all I got for you guys today.
Did you mention the? Sorry, I phased out a little bit because I was doing something on my phone, trying to tweet something. Did you mention the Blackrock thing?
Oh, no, I didn't. So, Blackrock, and this is probably a little bit of clarity here is important. So BlackRock filed for a Bitcoin trust. If you look at their filing, it says trust on it. So it's not an ETF. At least I don't think it's an ETF. I haven't dug down into those details enough. But yeah, they're basically filing to have a Bitcoin trust, much like Grayscale does, except for their trust will be able to remove Bitcoin out of the trust when people sell. So they shouldn't have the kind of divergence to the net asset value that Grayscale does, right? So Grayscale, you can only put Bitcoin into Grayscale. So they have all this Bitcoin, they hold it in trust, they have a net asset value on the basis of how much those Bitcoin are worth, but then it trades on the stock market at a different value. Right now it's trading like minus 50%. Maybe it's only minus 40%. I haven't checked lately. And that's because Grayscale can't remove Bitcoin from that trust. So BlackRock has filed to do their own thing, much like Grayscale, except for they will be able to remove Bitcoin from that trust. I think the idea is that they're going to apply for an ETF if they get approved for this trust. I think, I think everybody can see how obvious this is. BlackRock they've got USDC, they've got their stable coins, they have treasuries. They are like the blessed, holy, sanctified, big player on Wall Street, whatever. And now they're going to have their Bitcoin ETF. That will probably help Bitcoin dominance, right? That attention on Bitcoin, that's going to help Bitcoin dominance. It's also kind of a little like silver lining for the crypto industry as a whole, in the sense that, okay, BlackRock is making new investments into crypto. Obviously, they don't think the show is over. But yeah, it seems kind of obvious. Like, okay, well, they're trying to get their foot in the door. Is BlackRock now going to get approved for an ETF where everybody else got denied? Is this whole attack on crypto a quote unquote attack on crypto just so that they can change out the existing crypto cabal for their own crypto cabal, right? Are they trying to cartelize the crypto industry? Who knows, man? Like these kinds of power plays are just they happen all the time. And people they make alliances and deals and then they backstab each other. Like, I could only speculate on what's really happening behind the scenes, but I think there are power plays happening. So
yeah, they're moving in. It's interesting, right? It's BlackRock. So what do you think the ETF? It's obviously the big question nobody knows, but do you think would you vote ETF likely does get approved or doesn't get approved for BlackRock? tough one, right?
I
If
would
it's BlackRock, like,
say,
if anybody can get something approved, right? I feel like it'd be those guys.
I'd say they have the best chance, right, of making it happen. In turn,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have like, I'd say 50-50, but I just say that because I don't know. There's probably more information out there. If I really like spent the next week studying it, maybe I could give you a better opinion on whether they get approved or not. It's just that right now I feel like, everyone's in bed with everyone, and like there's these power plays going on. I don't even know if I think that Gensler's actually trying to attack crypto. He said a lot of good things about crypto when he was at MIT. He was like 3/4 of it are not securities. He talked good about Algorand, and now he's like, you're all securities. Like, okay, bro, did you really? Like, were you lying then, or are you lying now? Are you really like in bed with the crypto industry? Like, who knows?
At the end of the day, these guys are politicians too, right? So
Exactly.
I mean, you can't believe a word they say.
You can just chalk it down to that.
Yeah, they have no. I mean, 99% of them have no like guiding values. They're just trying to stay alive. Yeah, self-preservation and trying to gain as much power as they can.
The trader in me, the NGU, the get rich quick guy wants to believe that these guys they're basically trying to manufacture the next impetus for the next bull market. And to do that, they have to kind of like punch crypto in the nuts right now, so that they can stand them up later and be like, oh, you took that shot pretty good. And then, get the regulatory clarity done and then say, hey, it's good. We're like, we know what to do. And all the corporations are here now, 2025, 4-year cycle. Let's go. I think there's a good case to be made that some of this is just theater, political theater, and they're manufacturing the ability to run the next bull market. So that could be what's happening.
Good theory. And then I don't know if you mentioned the interest rates. So I know they pause. Do you think we're like very much on the downswing now with those? Like it's gonna truly pivot and interest rates are gonna start to drop?
I don't think they're going to pivot and drop, but they are going to pause. So the Federal Reserve decided for the first time in 10 months to pause their interest rate hikes. And they said they're going to need to do 2 more this year. We'll see if those 2 more happen or not. There's some question over with the debt ceiling. So the debt ceiling got quote unquote resolved. They've got another $1 trillion coming down the pipe here. There's a bit of a question over where they're going to get that money from, who's going to buy the treasuries, right? Because they've got to replace old treasuries with new treasuries. So there's a bit of a question in that regard. If the government has to print all this extra money, like, do they really want higher interest rates for that? I don't know. I doubt that we see a pivot. That doesn't make sense for them to pivot. They've like just barely got on the positive, optimistic side of controlling inflation. So pivoting and dropping interest rates right here seems like probably kind of a bad idea. But we'll have to see. To me, like the real crisis isn't here yet. If there's going to be a big crisis that needs to be addressed, I think we're still a few months away from that. I would like to see how the end of the year plays out. I kind of like, and I don't necessarily have great reasoning for it, but my intuition is something like the end of the year has the potential for us to actually see another big drop to the downside where crypto and stocks go back, maybe not lower lows, but they go back near those lows. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to pivot to the downside. It's so far they've done what they've said they're going to do, which is they've made the raises that they've said they're going to make. So I would expect at least 1 more interest rate hike this year. So I think they've got a meeting in July, and then they won't meet again after that until September. So yeah, we'll just have to see, man.
An overall larger trend, we got to be near the, if not at the top, near the top for interest rates, and then do you think then we would, the trend would be down over the next couple of years?
I think they want to hold interest rates as high as they can for as long as they can without breaking the economy entirely. So one thing that's happened recently that is actually good to see. So you can see that yellow line right there. That's the 1-year rate. And then the gray lines are the 6 and 3 months. You'll notice that before all the major crashes, basically the federal funds rate was above almost everything. Like everything was below the federal funds rate right here just before 2020. Again, in 2008, the Fed funds rate was above everything, right? Everything else was below the Fed funds rate. So, I mean, I do see some stability here still. And I do think that the Federal Reserve will want to hold these rates here, maybe even take another little bump up. They'll want to hold that for as long as they can with the goal of trying to get inflation down. I genuinely don't believe that they're trying to crash the system. I genuinely don't think that they're going to be like, okay, kill the dollar so we can replace it with a CBDC. I don't think that serves their power interest. I think it's more like boil the frog. For now, it's boil the frog 1 degree at a time. People to like, they still have the memory of like all the crap that went down and the willingness to resist it after the events of the past few years, let's just say. So I don't think that they can really quite get away with some other kind of like major crisis and emergency. I think they have to like go back to, slowly, incrementally. Oh, we've got these cool CBDCs now. You don't have to use them, but they're there for you if you need them. But I mean, what they really need to do to get things under control is get this fucking inflation back down here to like steady state. So that's where I see things in that regard.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, man.
Sure thing.
All right. Let's keep it moving, Bawdy. Thank you so much, man. Stick around if you can.
All right, brother.
Yeah,
Talk to you later.
Good. Thanks, Bawdy.
Always good.
That was yeah. That's always cool to see. Let's go. Yeah, I guess we're up next with the dev segment with Dgoon. Let's hit that.
Yeah, do it. Let's do it.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Yo ho, Dgoon.
Hey, how do I sound?
You sound great.
All right, awesome. How y'all doing?
Hey, how's it going, man? How are you?
It's going pretty well. Sorry to hear about the rain in New York.
Oh, yeah. Well, we went to a concert last night. It was fun. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fine. And then, yeah, we canceled my daughter's birthday party because we do it out in a park. And we didn't want to take a chance because we did do it one year in the rain. The kids had a blast. They had a blast. They didn't know, it was like amazing for them. Like, it's raining. But it was like pouring, and the parents are like, to this day still talk about it. Like, oh, remember that party?
Oh,
we
no.
We wanted to avoid that because there was like even just like a 30% chance of rain. We weren't taking chances this year. So, but I'm just looking through the chat. You wanted to go first today, man. I feel bad. Now I'm just reading in the chat here. I hope.
No, it's fine.
Hope you didn't hold.
I'm just visiting. I have a wedding coming up. I have to go, not today, but I'm visiting friends. So I just wanted to go ahead and get all that handled. Then the work thing you can play.
Yes. Okay. Well, sorry for holding you up, but
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. You guys are good.
I just realized now in the chat. Yeah, what do you got for us today, man? We'll make it.
Talking about that's the thing that stuff in the Monero space moves so fast. I'm talking about the Magic Grants, EAE, and churning funding. Like we literally talked to the chat on Monday about it, and like by the time it got funded like Friday.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, but we still have some good stuff to cover. But it's already funded, and I don't know if they accept overfunding. But this issue's already been addressed. Not addressed, but it's been funded. So I'm just going to talk about what got funded and why it got funded, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pretty much there's some really cool Monero research. There's this basically this not-for-profit run, I believe Justin from cakewallet runs it with Deverick, I believe is her name. And there's probably other people in the background. Pretty much they're a non-for-profit that accepts donations to fix certain specific issues in different cryptocurrencies. A lot of their work is in Monero. I know they do some stuff in Firo. I think they have an Oxen fund up right now to help out those projects. And they pretty much offer like a different way to Monero's decentralized anonymous funding mechanism. And there's some, benefits to that and downsides, but that's pretty much like for another video. But today, or this week, there was a big research to defeat an EAE attack and analyze the effectiveness of churning procedures. So I'm going to go over pretty much what an EAE attack even is, what churning is, and how this research will hopefully make Monero even that much more private and really secure. And then just to give you a background on EAE, like what it is, this is Isthmus, which is a Monero Research Lab researcher, and they are quoted saying, "I think that the EAE attack is one of Monero's biggest practical attack services currently. I see value in quantification plus real-world data for best practices." And like I said, EAE attack has been around for a while. Don't be worried. It says one of the biggest practical attack services. Doesn't mean that it is that you can actually track Monero or anything like that. It's the weakest link in the very strong chain that is Monero. So what is an EAE attack, you might be asking? And it stands for Eve, Alice, Eve attack. And I don't want to get too much into the weeds. So I'm trying to always balance that approachability without being like super like boring and technical. But if you know anything about Monero, if you watched any video in the past, basically Monero hides the sender by basically taking all the inputs here and mixing them together. So let's say this orange one is I want to buy some coffee from Doug and gratuitous. I would send a transaction, but that transaction would get bundled with all these orange decoy spins also. And they get pretty much, you can think of it like they get mixed in. If you're familiar with like Bitcoin mixing, if you have a background in Bitcoin mixing, Monero is basically non-interactive mixing, which is this big paper written by Sarang and other people back in like Ring T was like 2016, but it's really cool stuff. But it's non-active mixing. And so you have the real spin here in the orange one. And I think right now we're at 15 decoy spins. I think Seraphis wants to take it up to like 240, which is like mind-boggling, right? We're at 16 right now. Seraphis is hopefully going to take it up to like 200 and something. Really cool stuff. But basically, like, so when you send a transaction, I can show you on the Monero blockchain right now. Well, you think of this in this way. Let me go back here. On the Block Explorer, you have this is a Block Explorer from local Monero. On the left, you have the input transactions. So you see all of these. These are 16 right here. And we, as an outsider, don't know which one is the real one. The only person who knows who's the real one is the person who sent the transaction and the person who received the transaction, right? This is cryptographically secure. Ring signature is how Monero works as a basis. So when you send a transaction, once again, we have the possible 16 inputs that could be used, and we have the 2 addresses here. And a really cool, interesting thing is one of these addresses might be fake, actually, because Monero actually pads all transactions to have at least 2 output addresses. So even one of the addresses might be fake, might be a dummy one, but all of these, the real spin is somewhere in here, and the real address is also somewhere in here also. So I want to get that through, make that pretty much simpler. Let's go back to this analogy. So when you think about Monero, how Monero privacy, very, very basic way, the way it works is that you have 16 forking paths in every transaction or more. Like one of these paths on this screen is correct. One of these is the real outspin, the output. We don't know which one. Cryptographically, we cannot determine which is which, right? So that's the basis of Monero. Try to make it as simple as possible. But now that we understand the basics of how Monero works, let's go into what an Eve, Alice, Eve attack actually is. And basically, another name for an Eve, Alice, Eve attack is going to be the poison output attack. And what happens with a poison output attack? Let's say you're in a country where selling Bibles is illegal, right? So you're a legal Bible seller. So a government would come to, if they wanted to perform a poison output or Eve attack with you, what they would do is they would buy Bibles from you and track those inputs across the chain until you encounter a KYC service, essentially. So you see here, Eve spends some money here. They're the one attacking them. Eve can be thought of as a government or some person trying to spy on this seller. And this transaction works its way across the blockchain. And if Alice eventually spins at let's say you use something like Kraken, which is a KYC service, right? That output will get shown on the blockchain as being spent there. But that's just one transaction. That's not enough to actually be able to prove that you are Alice, you are the illegal Bible seller, right? So what they do is they do a ton of transactions with you, right? Because one isn't enough, but if they do let's do 100, 200, 300 transactions with you, their chances of being correct go up, right? There's all these forking paths, and some of them are real, but the chance of them being correct go up. Is there any question that I'm going too fast?
No, it's good. It's good.
Right, but you're never going to reach 100%. I know for a fact that Alice is this Bible seller. You will never, ever, ever, ever get that. So it's not like you're getting maybe you're moving from 1% accuracy to like 3, 5, 6%, right? We don't know because people aren't, chain analysis companies aren't like public when they prosecute someone with their math and stuff, which is
right. It's always probabilistic. You're not determined, even
always
with
right.
You're not deterministically.
Yeah, you're never, ever going to get deterministic unless you literally break into someone's house and catch them on their computer logged into their wallet. You're never going to cryptographically know for sure which outputs go where. And the really big, I don't know what some of the Arctic Mind talks about is how it's like they're basically prosecuting people, these chain analysis companies, they're prosecuting people without like on a 5% probability with no math behind it. They're not public with their math. So we don't know what that boundary is, but it's really messed up stuff. But essentially that's what the Alice Eve attack is. I just want to make it a little more simpler. And you can think of Monero as having all these forking paths. Each transaction has at least 16. And when you compound that across the whole chain, right, you get on hundreds of possible transaction paths, and only one of them is actually real. And you don't know which one is real, but you can get closer to the real one by just sending a ton of transactions, right? So if I do a ton of transactions with this illegal Bible seller, I will increase my chances of being correct, but I will never hit like 100%. And I don't want to be, I'm not a statistician. There's more a question for Rucknam, but like I haven't seen any hard data on they can actually get like above 6, 5% accuracy rate, which is like basically at that point you're just randomly guessing, right? I haven't seen any data that shows people can get any better than just randomly guessing. But like once again, I'm not a statistician. That'd be a better question for someone like Rucknam or Serene. So basically, now that we know what EAE attack is, now that we know it's Monero's weakest link in his very strong privacy chain, Serene was actually I guess contracted or is working with Magic Grants. He got funded, I believe, for like $27,000. I believe something like that, which is like crazy. And it got raised in, I believe, less than around a week, maybe. So Monero people are awesome. And basically, Serene's is going to research how to fix this. But if you're asking, how do I avoid EAE attack? How bad is it? You should not be worried. Once again, it's all probabilistic. And I haven't seen any data. There's been no one got arrested or got busted, as far as we know, with EAE attack. So short term, just don't use KYC, right? As Doug said, use something like local Monero with a non-KYC exchange, because even if they do a ton of transactions with you, if you never touch a KYC service, they don't know who you are, right? So it's like you can't really track someone without KYC. They would just have a bunch of transactions and random addresses essentially. Long term, hopefully Serene's research that got funded just now will hopefully help reduce this issue, give us more insight into this issue. And super long term, the answer is always move away from ring sig, or maybe get bigger ring sizes. Like I know Seraph is going for like 250 something. Like that's still up in the air. They haven't decided yet, but like 16 to 250, you're gonna get some major privacy upgrades. Are there any questions about EAE attacks? So there's also was another portion of this which is like churning. We're going to go over right now. But I want to make sure we got EAE attacks pretty well covered.
No, I think it's great. I think the one thing to point out is, and you already did, but just to reiterate for those who aren't, watch this stuff as closely as we do, and somebody's hearing this right now, like, oh my God, you can do an EA. It's this is one component of Monero, right? So there's 3 basic pillars to Monero's privacy. There's the stealth addresses, the confidential transactions, and the ring signatures. And the stealth addresses hide the receiver, and there's no known attack for that. Confidential transactions hide the amount. There's no known attack for that. They're both pure encryption methods. It's just the ring signature where we see this potential weakness and this one type of attack where it's not like a dragnet surveillance that can be done to kind of reveal who the senders are. It's where if somebody was pinpointed and somebody with a lot of resources was going after them to try to, make a determination of, what Monero they own and sent. And in some scenario where they put enough resources to it, which you outline, somebody selling, some vendor who's selling something, they would need to make, I guess, a lot of transactions on one end, and then they would also have to be in cahoots with the KYC end of things, right? With the exchange. So like a government would be an example, right? So they're attacking you on one end, trying to get this data, and then they're in cahoots with the exchange, and then they cross-reference and could, even then, it's still probabilistically say, wait, we think this might be you. These Monero might have come from that guy, that same guy who ended up at this KYC exchange. And like you said, not using KYC is one solution. But I guess the other, which you're about to get into, is the mixing your coins along the way, right? So if you are this one person who you think you may be pinpointed for this one reason, for in this one scenario, you may be a potential victim of a EAE attack. There are things you can do, and probably the best thing, I guess, would be to move your coins and mix your coins, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't come across an actual, like, if running an EAE attack sounds so complicated, I would think that the government would just get a warrant for your house and come like arrest you, right? Because if they suspect you and you're on a KYC exchange, like, am I going to sit down and actually buy like 100 things from this person? I'm just probably just going to like get a warrant. You know, so it's just like, if you're not going to KYC, the issue is the KYC exchange, not Monero or anything like that specifically. But yeah, I haven't come across any indictment or any government paper that's shown they actually went through this whole elaborate process. They usually go like, well, this guy bought something on darknet, used Bitcoin, went to an exchange, we got his name, we raided his house and found everything.
Right.
So I don't know.
This would be a scenario where I guess there's a darknet vendor accepting Monero, right, and then is attacked by a state actor where they're trying to reveal their identity, and the Monero vendor isn't too savvy, and they're accepting making lots of transactions with this attacker, and then they just turn around directly without doing any hops in between and just send all their Monero received directly to a KYC exchange to unload it. So once again, but I'm not surprised if there would be some vendor who could potentially get stuck in that scenario because they're not taking any additional steps. So it's important to get the information out there. Monero community is just trying to be overly honest about things, about what our flaws are, and that's why we constantly talk about this, because rather than sweeping it under the rug, continue to talk about it with the hopes of fixing it, which is, it appears to be the direction we're moving in with this funding request here for Serang.
Yeah, like I said, if you're that person that Doug was talking about earlier, who's like somehow skilled enough to be a dark web vendor but doesn't understand you just don't go straight to an exchange, like, please, I don't know who you are, but please, whatever. Because I was with you, I'm like, yeah, I don't know who. I've never met a person who's that technically skilled but also does like just like terrible OPSEC. I don't know, but that, yeah. But yeah, let's get into churning, which Serang is hopefully going to give us some more information about if this helps fix this EAE attack, or I guess not fix, it's not really broken, but reduce the effectiveness of this. And the big question is that communities have for a while is churning, which is basically you take if you can think of every transaction as a big mixer. So you would just do a ton of transactions, which would mix your coins up. And there hasn't been any solid research on if churning is good or bad, but that was the second half of this grant. So the first grant was to research EAE attack, get some more data on it. And the second half was like, oh, maybe churning could be something that could help prevent the EAE attack, or at least like make it will not prevent it. Once again, it's not really practical, but make it super, super even more impractical. And what is churning, you might ask? Like basically, you can think of a Monero transaction as a big mixer. You have your real input somewhere in this stack here, and then you have 15 other transactions right now. Seraphis will upgrade to like 200 plus, so massive number. And then one of these addresses is actually the real one, so it's a mixer. So you would just do a ton of these transactions, which will basically mix your coins up even more, right? Which will make it so much harder even tracking than it is now. Maybe. Which is like, because there's some good things and bad things about it. Mixing is always good for privacy, right? But the one bad thing about mixing is if you do it poorly, you can actually fingerprint yourself. Let's say you're like some dev guy, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna program my wallet to mix my coins, every 15 blocks for 10 blocks, right? And you write a little Python script that does that. That would actually be terrible because you would be fingerprinting yourself. You would be known as the 15.
Oh shit! Dgoon's breaking up. Hey, Dgoon, you there? Hello. Tux, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is that just Dgoon on his end? Where we lost
Yeah,
him?
I think so. Yeah, we don't hear you. Something happened.
It seemed like it was just his internet cutting out. But now he's talking and I can't hear him. Dgoon, we can't hear you. I don't know if you could hear us. We see you talking, but we can't hear you. Okay, he's working on it. Mm-hmm. How's it looking? We can move on. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Tux,
well
what do you
that's
think?
weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, now it says you're muted on stream.
How about now? He's
Nope.
Shit.
That's kind of weird.
All right.
Sorry, dude.
All right, we'll move on. We'll pick up. We'll. Oh no, he had a.
Yes, that's a good video. I've
Yeah.
seen that video. Thanks for adding that as a slide.
That's from the
Yeah, that's a
Breaking
great
Monero.
video. If you're interested in the Eve to Eve attack, a technical like look on it, then check out that video.
Yeah, Breaking Monero series. They talk about Eve Alice Eve attack. That's from a couple of years ago, and that's with Sarang. So is Sarang the one that's gotten the funding to investigate Eve Alice Eve further?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Well, sorry that happened, Dgoon. Thank you. Glad it didn't happen earlier. Take care.
Oh no, it's Dr. Nathan Borgren. So
Oh, it wasn't Sarang?
No, yeah, it's not Sarang. It's somebody else who we have to get on the show. We'll have to do a Monero talk with him.
Yeah. So while we still have him in here, let's go ahead and get ComradeBlin and let's go to the guest segment.
Yes.
Since he has to run in just a little bit.
Let's get him up.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by cakewallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. cakewallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are
Sorry
you?
it took a while to get you on here. Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, apologize. Thanks for waiting around. So what's going on, Comrade?
So as you know, I came here to talk about the Monero subscription slots. Mm-hmm. So let's do that, shall we? First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Gergely, pronounced George, and from Hungary, being 15 years old. I joined crypto about 2 years ago. Programming brought me in, and yeah, so subscription wallets.
You're 15 years old.
Yes.
How'd you find your way to Monero? Why are you working on Monero stuff?
So as I told you earlier, programming brought me in. I started programming about 9, and there was a Minecraft server actually that we did with friends, but didn't really work out. But the VPS for that had time left from the sub. So we started mining on it, especially Monero. And
awesome.
After that expired, a few years passed by, and now with the markets being overly manipulated, I thought to myself then, why not to join Monero, because it's harder to manipulate as it's not public, no public addresses, and it's getting banned from exchanges, so no more exchanges can manipulate it.
Awesome. It's exciting to see new people finding Monero and somebody as young as yourself.
Is he the youngest person you've had on the show so far?
Yeah, I think so. Right? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
It's awesome.
Monero's cool among 15-year-olds. That's good to know. It's interesting. So you were mining it. You found it through Minecraft, essentially. Is basically.
Yeah, about that.
That's amazing. That's great. That's fantastic. Do you think there's others that are your age or that are discovering Monero?
Well, I haven't met too much people, but I have met a few, like 2, 3.
Yeah, and I guess you started mining Monero because why'd you choose Monero for mining? Just because you could mine it?
Because it's CPU mineable, first of all, and later I learned that it cannot be mined by ASICs, so the difficulty doesn't increase too much.
Yeah, beautiful. I love to see this. This is fantastic. So yeah, go ahead and tell us about what you built for Monero.
So, what is subscriptions wallet? It's basically a Monero smart contract. I mean, a program. As we know, smart contracts don't exist in Monero on the blockchain level. It helps people donate or pay, just like on Patreon or in an online service. Its main function is to help Monero get adopted faster. And as I mentioned earlier, no, I didn't mention it. Sorry, I'm one of Luke's helpers. We are talking on Discord too, not just creating pull requests on his GitHub. And I joined because I'm a Linux user and I have Python experience. He was looking for Linux testers, and I thought to myself, why not? My main part in this software is fixing bugs and functions, but from now on I will focus more on adding new features, so Luke can focus on his own projects like airreplybot.com. How does it work, and how can vendors use this to set up a subscription? Basically, how it works is it generates a new wallet, or you paste your keys in the key store file that it uses for the CLI Monero wallet. And it opens a GUI where you can set up time-based payments, for which you need to have the wallet open so the payments can be paid by the software. For vendors, we will make a Monero business wallet, which is what we are focusing on right now. So both softwares are usable as beta, then they will be equally updated.
So wait, I want to make sure I understand this. So from it's really right now currently the product is for a customer that could set this up where
yeah, the subscriptions wallet is specifically customer based.
Yes.
We are starting on working on the business sides, yes.
Okay, and so what's the what will be the potential solution for the business side for a vendor? What's that?
So for the payment IDs, that's why we are using integrated addresses, because then we can assign a payment ID. As sub addresses don't support that. For the business side, there will be a QR code as well, and there will be a config panel-like thing, just like on Tux's website, where you can make the address-looking thing that you can put in the subscriptions wallet, so you can generate the payments on the vendor side, so your customers don't have to generate it for them.
Okay. And the customer would still have to obviously be using this subscriptions wallet, right, for it to work?
Yes, it's suggested to open it every 1 or 2 days, just so the payments can be paid.
Cool. And I guess big vision is tying this into existing wallets as well, right? So obviously, you're talking about right now it's through the client, but one day maybe I'm opening my Moneroju or Cake wallet and
yes, actually I've talked about that with Luke. We might message them and say, hey, you could introduce this into your wallet, but as they don't use Python, we would have to port it to, for example, a JavaScript node, especially.
Very cool. Tuxedo, I know you came up with some questions. You got anything you want to throw at them?
No, that was pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, what he mentioned earlier. Let me see if I can show this. To give some context, see if it'll actually work. So this is the Monero subscription code generator he mentioned, where it lets you just like put in all the information. Like you can put it in name, seller's wallet, what it's based on, and then the billing cycle, price, and a payment ID, and the start date, and how many days in that billing cycle, and you generate that, and it gives you the specific code that you put in the local software here that you download. This is like an app you run on the desktop. You put that in here, and this is for like vendors basically to generate a code that they can give to you, and you can put in here, and that can create the auto paying subscription, which is pretty cool.
Yes, we will.
If I got that correctly.
Yes,
right?
We will port that into the business wallet side. And what I forgot to mention is that we introduced a sweep wallet function into the subscriptions wallet. So users can now send all the funds without having to type the amounts to another wallet. And for the business, we are thinking on making a wallet to cold wallet send with just one button. So you store the cold wallet address in a txt file or config.json, or you enter it in the application, and it sends the funds to a cold wallet either in form of XMR or in form of USDT using Sideshift's API. Upon daily basis, for example, or basis that you set it on to send it. Soon we will make the binaries available for all Linux, macOS, and Windows, so people don't have to download the source code themselves and run Python or install Python. That way they won't have to install it. And we might be able to include the CLI wallet too, but we are working at that.
Nice, that's super awesome. I don't think anyone's done something like this before.
Yeah, as far as I know.
It's super unique.
Very cool. How many people are working on this? I know you.
Currently 3 of us. So Luke, myself, and a guy named Good Guy 140, who couldn't come sadly.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Is there any other Monero related projects you're delving into, or this is what you're focusing?
We've talked about a Monero based eBay with Luke, but we are not sure on that yet.
Okay, awesome, man. This is beautiful. I love seeing this. Are you coming to Monerocon by any chance? I think you said you're located in Hungary.
Yeah, sadly not. I can't make it.
Okay. We should I think you've earned a scholarship to Monerocon.
Honestly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
would
that
be
time.
glad if I could go.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Thank you so much, Comrade. Anything else you want to bring up? Love to have, maybe could have you and Luke on a Monero talk. We could do a whole show on the stuff you're working on.
Not anything more currently, but I will keep you guys updated.
All right, Comrade. Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Sure. Of course. See you guys.
That's some awesome stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, you guys can should I link that somewhere? The GitHub page for that. Should I put that in the description or something?
Yeah. In general, any links we talk about, news and stuff, we should throw in the show notes.
Awesome, we'll do that.
Have you been doing that? We do that, right? We do that with the news. Do we throw all the?
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Do we have our next? We have two guests this week.
Yeah, we do. We have. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Libertad, right? We're gonna bring him up.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Do it. Wait, did you?
Hi.
Hi. The guest segment again. Hold on 1 sec.
Oh, all right.
We gotta give you a proper intro.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by cakewallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. cakewallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right. I just want to make sure we give you a proper introduction there. What's going on, guys?
Okay. Hey, my name is Helen. I'm trying to help Alessandro to explain some about the Club of Libertad. I'm not a translator. I'm just a student that have English, a little of English. So I try to help here to explain how about the club.
All right.
Hi, Douglas. Nice to be on your show.
Thanks for coming on, man. Thank you.
Okay. We are going to explain about this club and how to start and about the tournaments and what we want to do with this. So I explained that he wrote. So I started to explain the history about this club and how he started to train in this and want to help the club.
Y que alguna pregunta, espero que si después de nuestra aplicación, que alguna pregunta que nos la repita porque...
He wanted to explain and wanted to you ask him about the club and how Moneros came back here, digamos, how to arrive here in this town.
Yeah. First, how old? Alex is the name? Alex?
Alessandro.
Alessandro. First, I guess, yeah. Tell us about the club. What is this club? Like, a lot of us aren't. We're not from Argentina. We're not familiar with what's going on. This is just like a local soccer club for a certain age group. Or football.
De donde vienen, de donde es.
Okay. ¿Lo vas a decir vos o querés que voy a hacer un poco?
Sí, explícalo vos y después yo las paso.
Bueno, nuestro club proviene de la provincia de Formosa, del estado de Formosa, que dentro de la República Argentina. Estamos ubicados en la frontera norte de Argentina, ya casi límite con el país de Paraguay. Nosotros, mucho tiempo atrás, estamos hablando 50 años atrás, éramos territorio de Paraguay, pero después, con el pasar de los años, esto se convirtió en territorio argentino, así que somos argentinos.
Okay. He explained that we are in a province, we are in a small town here called Ibarreta. We are very near from Paraguay, about 300 kilometers. We are very near to Paraguay, so we have many connections with them, but we are Argentina. A few years ago, we are joined with them, but then about many things in the country, we became to Argentina.
Okay. How old are the players on the team?
Can you repeat, please?
What are the ages of the people, the players on the team?
¿Cuántos son los jugadores? ¿Cuántos años tienen los jugadores?
Bueno, el promedio de edad de los jugadores es de aproximadamente 26 años, pero tenemos un plantel con jugadores de 18, 19, 20, 21 años. Y estamos dentro de la Federación del Fútbol Argentino. No es un club así aislado, ni es un fútbol amateur, sino que ya es semiprofesional, que puede llegar a ser profesional y competir en grandes ligas.
Okay. We have players and about 18 to 55 years. We have all the ages. We are a club that we are associated with AFA, that is a football Federation Football of Argentina, that is nowadays is the champion of the World Cup. We are not a club amateur. We are trying to compete with professionally. So we try to, our goal is this, try to play professional.
Wow, amazing. So how did Monero come into play here? Why did Alejandro want to add Monero to the shirts? Basically associate. Why did they want to associate themselves?
Bien. Nosotros habíamos redactado un paper contando.
You should bring up the shirt when let's show the shirt. Go ahead. Sorry, Alejandro, go.
Bueno, nosotros habíamos hecho un escrito acá porque no sabíamos cómo íbamos a relacionarnos, interactuar con ustedes, y había hecho redactado una historia para que ella lo explique. No sé si quiere escucharlo de parte de ella, la explicación que habíamos hecho aquí.
We do a essay we related about how Monero arrived here. We have a paper narrate. I don't know if you want to explain this or you want to ask us.
Yeah. I guess I'm just interested in understanding why Monero, why Alejandro and the team want to associate themselves with Monero. I'm just curious how this came about.
¿Quieres saber más por qué, cómo Monero llegó a salvar?
Bueno, básicamente yo arranqué con esto en el año 2020 en el mundo de Bitcoin, Monero, porque durante la pandemia yo no estuve aquí en esta zona, estaba en otra provincia, y allí, estando encerrado con un amigo, me adentró en este nuevo mundo. Y por problema de la pandemia yo no podía ingresar a mi provincia, a mi lugar. Y cuando llegó ya entré con todo ese conocimiento. Si quieres explicarle.
Sí. He started with Monero in 2020. That was pandemic. He is not in the province because we have a policy of confinement in our province that are extremely, we cannot came back to our home.
Era mucho más difícil teniendo la cuarentena más larga del mundo.
It was very difficult to have to came back to our homes. We are in another cities, so he started to learning and research about how Monero Bitcoin. So he have an interesting and a friend of him teach and explain about Moneros.
Vuelvo a mi pueblo en 2021 y el club de mi barrio, del barrio donde yo vivo, estoy a 2 cuadras de la cancha de Libertad del club. Yo jugaba al fútbol, pero por ir a estudiar dejé, y cuando volví al pueblo después de la pandemia en 2021, después de muchos días de cuarentena, de estar encerrado, me adentré en la idea de volver a jugar al fútbol. Y pregunté si podía jugar en Libertad. Cuando llego al club estaba deteriorado, muy deteriorado, y solamente me dediqué a jugar al fútbol en ese momento. Y con el correr del tiempo, en 2022, se me ocurrió crear el Twitter de Libertad con el único fin y objetivo de hacer conocer el club y mostrar los entrenamientos, la interacción con los chicos. Si se busca más para atrás en el tiempo las publicaciones, la van a encontrar, más de amistad y todo eso.
When I came back to my town, when I could enter in my province, I started to play football again in the neighborhood club that is Libertad. When I arrived in this club, it was in awful conditions about the confinement, because in the pandemic we couldn't do anything to have in condition the stadium. So I started to, I made an account in Twitter about Libertad, and I showed the entrainments and show how we started to repair the stadium. And we have photos in 2021. We started to train again and put in conditions in the stadium for start to have a good trainment.
Aquí cómo llega la historia de Monero y Libertad. Bueno, aquí comenzó un furor durante la pandemia hacia adelante con las apuestas deportivas. Acá en Argentina existe una regulación de cada estado para ese mecanismo de apuesta deportiva. Los chicos, tanto nuestros jugadores como la mayoría de los pueblos, incluso nuestros, las ciudades, apostaban, pero el estado provincial cortó, le prohibió el uso dio de baja las páginas de apuestas deportivas y no se podía apostar. Y había una demanda generalizada de eso. Entonces yo le dije, muchachos, vamos a juntarnos, yo les voy a explicar cómo pueden hacer para poder apostar y poder ganar.
Okay. How Monero and Libertad joined. One day we started to, I started to explain the players how we can make money about Monero, because they wanted to, they play in casino online, in local casino online, que aceptaban Monero, creo.
No, primero que se veían imposibilitados de poder apostar.
They can beat in this casino land because has been forbidden in the province and in the country. So I started to explain them how we can use Monero in these casino lines, charging in this bidding shop, charging credits in Monero.
Al tener chicos jóvenes y que les encantaba apostar, eran como cajeros en el sistema tradicional de apuestas online, que se cargaban a través de fichas, intercambiaban por moneda fiat de pesos argentinos o en dólar también, en dólares. Y se les terminó y aparecí yo enseñándoles a usar Monero, más que nada para que puedan depositar. Yo hice la primera inyección de Monero en cakewallet y a través de ahí le empecé a cargar a las cuentas en la casa de apuestas. No sé si puedo decir el nombre, que es 1xBet. Es una casa de apuestas rusa que pide KIC, pide reconocimiento facial, pero no hace falta, solamente para números telefónicos y esas cosas, pero era el único medio que tenían los chicos que les gustaba apostar, más del club y las otras gente, para que puedan cargar saldo en Monero, apostar y poder retirar.
Yes, the guys were very interested in the casinos. So he started to explain how we use Monero to have credits and recharge balance money. They are very interesting, so they have a course about 3-hour intense to try to understand how Monero introduced in this wallet. About he he based on cakewallet that is more easy for him to explain the guys how they can recharge and take out the reminders.
Para poder cargar saldo y retirar en la casa de apuestas.
Sí.
Bueno, yo podría haber elegido Bitcoin, podría haber enseñado Bitcoin a través de Lightning Network, más fácil, porque aquí en Argentina las plataformas, hay muchas fintechs, muchas empresas, compañías y bancos que permiten el uso de Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, DAI, etcétera, pero eran una rampa centralizada y estaba dentro del control del Estado, y los chicos podían quedar trazados de punta a punta, mucho más con las casas de apuestas deportivas extranjeras que están prohibidas.
Okay.
Podrías haberle enseñado Bitcoin, pero no elegimos Monero.
I can use Bitcoin, but I choose Monero because
podría haber, era lo que más se usa acá en Argentina, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is more
y las plataformas digitales.
The people use more Bitcoin. Monero is not very.
No es lo más usado.
It's not more the use. The people use
por las empresas
because
las compañías bancarias.
The bankary
que ofrecen
companies
servicios criptográficos.
Offer these criptomonedas. ¿Cómo sería?
Entonces agarré y les enseñé a crear un grupo de liquidez.
So I teach the guys to make a
liquidity group.
A liquidity group, so they can.
De Monero contra pesos argentinos.
De Monero with pesos argentinos.
Básicamente es agarrar y creamos un grupo de WhatsApp entre los chicos del club. Primero que nada, que eran 5 o 6 chicos del club que querían apostar. Yo les enseño la forma de usar Monero en Cake Wallet. Ellos de Cake se lo pasaban al casino y ahí apostaban y retiraban de nuevo hacia Cake por la política que tenía la casa de apuestas.
Bueno. Andres, if you're out there, I think I see you in the comments. Jump on stage if you can. Oh, wait, he is there. I'm going to add him to the stream. Oh, Andres, if you don't mind, I just added his stream. Hey, you're on camera.
Hello. Can you hear me? Does it work?
Yeah. Can you? I just want to make sure I'm fully understanding the story because it sounds pretty amazing. First of all, how old is Alejandro? He's 15?
How old is he?
How can you repeat?
How old?
¿Cuántos años tenés?
I'm 15. I'm 22, 28, and he 25.
Okay, 25. And the soccer teams, I was trying to get an understanding. So this is for like one team that he's trying to do this for?
Yes.
Andres, maybe you can explain. You were listening in. I want to understand what exactly going on.
I was listening in, but I was trying to make the camera work, so I missed a bit of the nuances.
Okay.
I just
tengo uno de los donantes aquí, uno de los primeros donantes.
He is one of the donors about this in the club. He is one of the donators.
Getting the name on the popular. Okay, so just as a quick note, here we in Argentina we make very weird and cumbersome money workarounds because we have restrictions all the time, right? So I can ask a couple of questions to get it right and then trying to explain it back to you.
Yeah, I heard a few things that were interesting.
Basically the setup is that they have a lot of young guys, underage. There are some of them are football players, and they wanted to bet on soccer bets, right? Mm-hmm. But the law in the province of Formosa doesn't allow for underage official betting on sports. So far, so good. Más o menos
Yes. I'm loving this.
Right. So the workaround is through foreign online bets house that is called, ¿cómo se llamaba?
1xBet.
1xBet, right? That I got from them, that is Russian, or is based in Russia.
Yes.
And they're also using Cake for Monero, right? So the way that it works is that just one question. La casa de apuestas de 1xBet te deja entrar y salir con Monero.
Exactamente. Funciona de la siguiente manera. Vos depositas Monero y para retirar las ganancias, el medio de retiro tiene que ser por el medio de ingreso. Es la única forma. Así para
o sea que tenés que sí o sí entrar y salir con Monero.
Exactamente. Así como también puedes entrar y salir con plataformas centralizadas como IRTM, AstroPi.
Sí, entiendo.
También
pero no podés en este caso porque vos entrás con Monero. Tenés que salir con Monero sí o sí.
Con Monero solamente. Bien. Y eso lo que te permite es que vos podés hacer el case bueno, sí.
Y otra pregunta, ¿la apuesta la haces adentro de la plataforma?
Exactamente, dentro de 1xBet.
So, the thing works like this. That platform only allows you, without a bit of KYC, just the phone number. Okay, right? Just only the phone number. It's Russian. So, but the condition is that you have to go in and out of the platform with the same medium of exchange. So basically, if you go in with Monero, you have to go out with Monero.
Okay.
Para aclarar, para registrarte en 1xBet, no necesitas número de teléfono. Se lo puede hacer
not even cell phone.
Se lo puede hacer con un correo electrónico solamente y no necesitas dar tus datos personales. Te los piden, pero la trampa es para que vos puedas obtener un bono en el primer depósito. Okay. Vos rechazás el bono y sos libre.
This is very Argentinian. Okay, it's a mixture of Argentinian and Russian, which is like.
I'm loving it.
It's like black market is the purest black market ever.
It's just beautiful that he found his. Here, another example. He organically found his way to Monero.
Life finds a way. It's just like in Jurassic Park.
So they're using this. They're using this online Russian online exchange to do essentially sports betting. Local sports betting, like they're doing for their local teams.
They're using for the local teams.
Okay. And he's convinced his network to use Monero for purposes of using this online exchange. So they're sending Monero to the exchange. Okay.
So the trick is that they only ask for KYC if you want a plus, like a bonus, right? Sorry, but if you don't, you are just right with just an email account. So what they're doing is just sending Monero to the platform, making the bets in the platform, and then getting out of the platform with Monero as well, because it's the same medium of exchange that they use when they got in. Right? So far, so good. And the reason, if I didn't understand wrong, that he suggested to use Monero instead of Bitcoin, because it's also something that is, of course, accepted in the platform. And it would have made it a lot easier because Bitcoin is more well known here.
Yes.
Is because he was afraid, and rightly so, about KYC.
Okay.
So if you are forcing me to not only go in, but also getting out with the same currency after I win a bet, they better use Monero and not Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is traceable.
Smart.
That was his reasoning, right?
Yes.
I
think that's how far we got so far.
para agregar, o sea, se preguntarán cómo los chicos llegan a tener los pesos. En su momento, cuando comencé esto, los chicos me plantearon
how the players or the kids do to get from Monero to Argentinian pesos again.
Yes. How's that happening?
Bien. Esto había comenzado con 4 o 5 jugadores del club, de entre los cuales había uno que era cajero en el sistema que el Estado provincial acá había bloqueado. El casino que se cargaba a través de fichas nada más y hacía un peer-to-peer con pesos argentinos, a través de transferencia o efectivo acá en todos los pueblos locales. Tenía muchos usuarios, un chico, un jugador de mi club.
Ok, para. Sin prender fuego a nadie. Para. wait. This gets way better. So, perdón, usaban el casino. O sea, ¿de qué manera usaban el casino? ¿Para hacer el peer-to-peer nada más?
No. Había una plataforma.
Un casino local, me decís.
Antes de que llegue yo con 1xBet a enseñarles, ellos usaban otra plataforma. Todo el pueblo y las ciudades aledañas aquí se sigue usando en otras provincias, pero aquí no se puede.
Es una
Cada
plataforma
provincia-
de apuestas
cada
oficial
provincia-
de la
¿Cómo?
provincial. Es una plataforma de apuestas online, pero provincial.
No. Es un software que cada uno, o sea, cada cual tiene, que puede aparecer. Para entender esto, cada provincia tiene independencia en aceptar o no casa de apuestas deportivas. Cada una tiene su propia regulación. En Buenos Aires es legal las apuestas hoy en día y es un boom tremendo. Bueno, nuestra provincia no está permitido y bloquearon todo tipo de casas de apuestas locales. Entonces,
okay.
pasó eso.
Wait. At the provincial level, what they did is that they block or basically forbid any local betting house. There was a system before that was local and allowed for online bets for people. Due to regulations, they banned any possibility that they use a local one. They don't even exist anymore.
Llegué yo con esta alternativa, se la enseño a los chicos y ellos no es que aprendieron Monero en sí, sino que aprendieron a usar rápidamente la wallet como sistema de transferencia, pegar la dirección de depósito y depositar un XBet. Ese saldo se lo reflejaba en pesos dentro de la aplicación de apuestas y después lo mismo, ponían el importe en pesos que ganaban y el saldo se lo reflejaba en Monero, dentro de Cakewallet. Ahora, dentro de Cake quedaban ahí. Yo decía, bueno, ¿y acá cómo yo les hago entender?
Wait, so people don't lose track of the whole thing. The good thing about the XBet stuff is that they show them the bets and the amounts that they win in pesos, right? So they don't kind of once he teach them how to send and receive Monero back with the addresses and all that, they see everything in pesos all the time because they see the bets in pesos and the earnings in pesos, and for them Monero was so far just like a technology, not like a currency in a way. But now it comes the part when they have the pesos back in Cakewallet. So, ¿qué hacían?
Entonces, yo les dije, muchachos, ahora aprendieron a hacer esto, ahora van a aprender a transferirse directamente dentro de la billetera de Cake. Y lo que van a tener que hacer es
de unos a los otros.
Se van a tener que transferir en Monero, armar un grupo de liquidez en WhatsApp que diga, ya que uno de los chicos era el que más usuario tenía, y dije, agregarlo al grupo, vamos a hacer una videocaptura de pantalla sobre cómo cargar saldo, cómo crearse, cómo registrarse en Cake, guardar las semillas y cómo funciona para enviar y pegar y copiar y hacer.
¿Y uno solo de ellos, el que tenía más movimiento, es el que le daba liquidez a los demás, si querían irse en pesos?
Él era como la segunda alternativa. El grupo era abierto para todos. Si alguno decía, yo necesito saldo en 1xBet, uno le cargaba, le pedía la dirección y el otro le pasaba por transferencia bancaria o efectivo si estaba cerca. Pero normalmente se mueven con transferencia bancaria por afuera.
Okay. What he teach everybody else is to just basically use Monero, right? How to send, how to receive between them. So a bit of liquidity starts happening naturally in the group of people betting and using Monero to use the 1xBet, right? And one of them was which was the user with most trades, so to speak, or with more liquidity on the expert side, under his command, started a WhatsApp group, because WhatsApp here is absolutely king.
Yes.
As you may have noticed in Mexico.
Yes.
Started a liquidity group in WhatsApp where everybody, and it's even open, so even if you're not part of the original betting group, so to speak, you go to Formosa and you can use the WhatsApp group, basically. And he was like the liquidity provider for for credits inside the betting platform. And on the other side of the trade, you could even do bank transfers.
Okay, so people are they're using Monero to go in and out of this
yes,
online gambling site, but then they're also on WhatsApp and they're trading Monero for credits to this gambling website.
Yes, or back to pesos if they need so.
Oh, or back to, which is fence. So some people there are they're basically like a local Monero, their own little like some people there are
it's a WhatsApp power local Monero based on trust and
fantastic.
Probably I don't know, knives.
Bueno,
if you behave, it must be behave or something.
How
it's a small community, so it's probably
how many people
like
are in this group? How many people are in the WhatsApp group?
¿Cuántos hay en el grupo de WhatsApp?
¿Cuánto tiempo lleva?
No, ¿cuántos hay más o menos?
¿Cuántos integrantes en el grupo de WhatsApp? Y yo le hice la pregunta a Omar, se llama nuestro jugador, él tiene 20 años, él es el que es más lúcido para hacer todo eso.
No lo prendas más fuego, Omar, por favor, sí.
145, 150 más o menos personas hay dentro de ese grupo.
150 people inside the
wow, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
Y esas personas ni siquiera tienen Twitter y no saben que existe una comunidad de Monero atrás, ni sus redes son Instagram, TikTok.
Those people don't even have Twitter, and they have no idea what a Monero community is whatsoever.
No, que es adopción y uso lo de ellos.
They just learn how to use it and they're using it.
Bueno,
as a tool out of necessity for what they're trying to achieve. So so is it growing? I imagine it's probably growing because the soccer league, I imagine a lot of people are interested in the same thing of being able to kind of gamble locally in soccer, right? Andres, if you want to get, I want to get his feel there.
No, pregunta si está creciendo, si vos ves que más gente se va metiendo adentro de la dentro de la comunidad.
Sí, está hablando del grupo de liquidez, ahí donde se van manejando. Sí, sí, va creciendo. Yo me acuerdo cuando él comenzó, eran los muchachos. Sí.
No, I'm telling that.
Cuando comenzó, yo me acuerdo que eran 20 personas, y yo dije, Omar, vos estás re loco, le dije. Vos estás re loco. Por favor, hacerle entender que guarden sus 24 palabras y copien bien y peguen su dirección, que miren, por favor. Y se ve que la hizo demasiado bien.
At first, there were 20 people, and it was arranged by, or at least Omar is one of the players, and it was entiendo que Omar era el que más conocía de Monero al principio, ¿y eso cómo funcionaba?
El que entendió al toque y pudo reflejarlo.
Omar is actually the Monero guy, the Monero prophet in Formosa. So at first there were like 20 people, and he was like, Omar, you're crazy. You're basically onboarding people into a peer-to-peer group using Monero, and they don't even know what seeds are. Please instruct them to write everything down very carefully because it's growing fast. I mean, or at least it was. Yes. Y entonces,
bueno.
This is fantastic. When I brought him on, I thought it was just that they had some like a soccer jersey thing, and they wanted to put the Monero logo on it. I didn't realize there's this whole backstory where they're actually using Monero in a very real way. This is actually pretty amazing. This is
wow. I mean, this is more so than like most people, like, us in the Monero community even would like, engage with it.
Yeah. they're actually, they found a use case. A lot of them, like you said, don't even really know like the tech, but it's just working for them for the purposes that they need.
The bar is set very low, Doug, for financial services here. I mean,
después de todo esto, todo esto, yo hace poco llegamos a la semifinal, quedamos afuera en semifinal y eran partidos ida y de vuelta. Si ustedes buscan las publicaciones anteriores del club, yo venía publicando cómo venía el seguimiento del club y los partidos y todo eso. Y yo dije,
after the whole thing even after the whole peer-to-peer WhatsApp group, they were playing on the tournament and they went up to semifinals. And that was the moment.
Sí, perdón. Bueno, yo cuando llegó la semi dije, puedo preparar algo en agradecimiento a Cake y a su CEO. ¿Por qué? Porque este chico progresó bastante. Este chico no era de muchos recursos, sí se sustentaba y le permitió a muchos chicos abrirse y yo sé que no es una recomendación apostar y todo eso, pero muchos chicos pudieron abrirse y pudieron aprender a manejarse, a tener más plata también. Y bueno, y yo dije, voy a agarrar y voy a mandar a hacer una banderita de cakewallet agradeciéndole por permitirnos usar esto. Yo más adentro, yo ahorro un 50% en Bitcoin y un 50% en Monero, es mi cartera. Y tengo un poco
este chico es Omar, el que decís que está en una situación complicada y...
No, era un chico de pocos recursos escasos, pero se la iba ingeniando siempre.
Y hasta entonces su única relación con Cake y con el tema era solamente agradecido por la herramienta, digamos, no es que...
Cuando hice la publicación, yo en agradecimiento a Vic Sharman y a Cake, pues fue el muchacho posen con la banderita acá, mandé a comprar 5 moneditas de chocolate que parecían de monedas y le pegué, mandé a hacer unos autoadhesivos de Cake aquí y dije, subo la foto y ya. Y le agradecí.
Y esto fue antes de ningún tipo de sponsoreo, digamos. Lo hiciste porque...
Obvio, no. Como sponsor honorario lo queríamos tener por la ayuda a los chicos.
Okay. So, what he's saying is that they were up to semifinals and they were very happy in that moment. And he has seen on his own, he was able to see how much the life of a couple of the guys. He made the due message that betting is sometimes not the best thing to do, but actually for some of the guys, and especially to this guy in particular, it was kind of like changing his life a bit. He was of very low resources, poor, so every bit of gains that he had from that made a very big difference. And the whole thing about discovering Monero helped him a lot. And when they got to semifinals, Alessandro decided to make a whole move, and they wanted to hear me out saying this, to thank Cake because because of the tool. Cake wasn't sponsoring anything at that moment. I don't know if it is now, but they just used Cake. They wanted to, before the final, he made some stickers printed with the Cake logo and stamped in some of the t-shirts he's going to share, of the jerseys. He also bought some chocolate coins, gold chocolate coins, you know.
Y me olvidé de esto, me olvidé de llevar esto ese día.
He forgot to bring the QR code that day, but he made that the banner, and he took the photos with the Cake thing. Kind of just explaining it for the international audiences, just like pretending for Cake to be a sponsor, so to speak, you know.
Planificando a futuro, queríamos ser el primer club esponsoreado por Cake, suponiendo que Cake dentro de unos años va a tener equipos profesionales más grandes.
They wanted to be the first football club sponsored by Cake, basically. So it's like the Will Smith movie, you know, that you dress for the job that you want to have, not the one that you already have. Yeah,
he's an entrepreneur, man.
So they just like, let's pretend that Cake is our sponsor, and they got the attention. So it kind of worked.
Hey, look, here he is on Monerotopia.
I need to ask. ¿Ya tuvieron un tipo de arreglo de sponsor con Cake?
Cuando nosotros hicimos la publicación esa, al otro día, perdón, a la hora, básicamente, que terminamos el partido, perdimos. Yo estaba concentrado en hacer eso y en jugar incluso. Perdimos 2-0 el partido de ida. Me voy.
Tenías que arreglar el sponsor antes, claro, sí.
Claro, muy enojado. Y subo la publicación con todo el mensaje recaliente, yo pensando cómo hacer bien el mensaje. Subo y a la hora, el CEO de Cake me hace una donación de $100 en Monero a través de la modalidad de EPI, a través del usuario Libertad. Y yo, wow, muchas gracias, dije, esto va a ir para el club y va a ir para la pintada del frente, se lo dije, y a los 3 días ya publiqué el video cuando los chicos pintando el frente del club.
Ok, bueno, espera. He thought about the whole thing, took the photos and all before the final match, right? Then they played the final match and they lost 2-0, right? So he was very pissed off, very angry, and he still needed to make the Twitter thread about the whole thing. So borderline crazy, right? After losing the final match, he made the whole thing like, fuck this. He made the whole thing with the photos and all that, and just an hour after he published Big Reach to them and made a $100 donation in Monero to using the Bird Pay address in Twitter. So with that money, the next day, just the very fast next day, they took the money, they sell it, and the States Monero they sell it, and they use the money to pay for the paint, to paint the outside of the club, the entrance. Of the club.
I thought you were going to say that the next day they gambled with it and lost it all.
Yes, they lost it, everything. Again, it's like 2 years.
That's amazing. So they took the money, they painted the outs. That's amazing, man.
Yes.
This is amazing.
¿Algo más hicieron? Aparte, pintaron la entrada, ¿y qué más?
Pintamos la entrada, le dimos color, si quieren, a ver, acá, si quieren buscar, ese era antes de la donación del CEO de Cake.
That's the before picture.
Está en Twitter la publicación y aquí ya los chicos pintando con la nueva pintura amarilla, dándole...
Yeah.
Había hice un video grabando y luego entrando al club.
You need a Monero logo.
Ese frente lo pintamos. También mandamos a cortar el césped que hacía falta.
They painted and they pay someone to mount the grass.
Es un predio enorme. Y allá está el fondo de la tribuna que la vamos a refaccionar con la campaña.
Okay.
Pero en inicial, esos $100
acá te estaba diciendo, Dag,
para cortar el
pasto. Acá te está diciendo por qué amarillo y no con un logo de Monero.
Bueno, ahora, en la campaña que lancé en Twitter, yo lo que pedí fue juntar financiado 100% en Monero, el juego de camisetas esponsoreado por Monero y financiado por Monero al 100%, el juego completo de camisetas junto con su media antideslizante que son para jugadores profesionales, y también nuestra tribuna de cemento, que es la más grande, que tiene capacidad para 200 personas, que sea 100% financiada por Monero y pasará a llamarse la Monero Popular. no sé si popular es un término que él conoce como...
Sí, doesn't matter. Digo, no importa. The next stage that they did was to ask for donations to the broad Monero community on Twitter as well. That was the thing that we saw yesterday or the day before. And they already got the donations for that. I mean, ¿ya consiguieron la plata que necesitaban para la tribuna y eso?
Bien, si quieres le explico cómo vamos con eso.
Okay.
No sé.
They were asking for money too. Two things: the whole jerseys and the equipment and the socks. They're using like a professional kind of sock that they're using for.
El diseño del short es la remera espectacular y la media.
They made a new design for the jerseys and the socks as well. I suppose it's Monero related. The other thing that they were asking was for money to fix, basically to embellish the grades. I don't know how to say that.
No se dan una idea.
The place where people sit on a football field. I don't know.
No se dan una idea. Sí.
Para. That place is made of concrete and stuff. It's the biggest. It's the biggest. The biggest sitting area that they have on the field, and it holds 200 people approximately. And the plan with the whole thing is that that would be like Monero label or somehow, and it would be called the Monero Popular is called here because Popular is the name that you gave to the section of the football field where the tickets are cheapest, and they are usually the ones that are very near the field, and you get the whole chanting and all.
Amazing.
Stuff. Yeah. So it's like the premium spot for the people.
Tuxedo, can you pull up the jersey and stuff? Can you share?
Yeah, the tweet. Yeah, let me pull that up. Let me grab that.
Ahora van a mostrar las fotos de la camiseta.
So he raised the money. Did they raise the money? Did they reach their funding?
That's what he was about to tell. ¿Cómo va el progreso de lo que juntaron?
Bueno, hasta el momento, de un inicio, yo he pedido $1,400 para todo lo que es los costos de la refacción. Tenemos que hacer bloques nuevos de cemento porque hay algunos que se están por caer. También es hacer el revoque nuevo dentro de
$1,400 for the whole thing, because they also have to replace some of the pillars, the concrete pillars of the structure, because they're in ruins, basically.
Hasta el momento hemos gastado $340 en todo lo que es la indumentaria, todo lo que es la remera, el short y el juego de medias. Y déjeme contarle algo que me pasó ayer cuando hice el pago.
Así no me olvido. They already spent $340 USD on the jerseys and the equipment and all the things for the players.
Bien. Acá queda todo cerca, como es un pueblo de 30,000 habitantes, queda todo cerca. Voy a la indumentaria para decirle cómo quería el pago, si quería efectivo o transferencia. Y me dijo, le digo, no man, me dice, yo te puedo aceptar Monero si querés para que vos no estés perdiendo una conversión. Él tiene 24 años, el dueño de la indumentaria, Don Hugo.
Vamos, pará, porque esta le va a gustar. Esta le va a gustar escuchar. He went to the guy, to the printers. You're gonna love this, Doug. He went to it's a small town. They have 30,000 people living there. Population 30,000. Sorry. He went to the shop of the guy, the store making the jerseys, right? And he wanted to order them. And he asked the guy, how does he want to get paid? if he wants like bank transfer or cash or whatever, because cash is king here. Cash is king. Sure. And the guy replied, no, I mean, if you want, you can pay me Monero.
Bueno, y le pregunté,
No way.
por las dudas, ¿vos estás en el grupo de Omar? Le dije, sí, man, ¿por qué, man?
Okay, wait. This is very good. And he asked, the guy said, well, you can pay me Monero. And Alessandro said, what the fuck, man? I mean, are you in Omar's WhatsApp group? Because the owner of the shop is like 22 years
Otro
old.
más que apuesta.
Yeah. And he says, yeah, for sure. So
That is
he also bets. So yeah, he was aware of Monero. And
the circular economy is taking off over there.
Le pagué
fantastic.
Realicé el pago en directo a él en 2.6 Monero. Y le pedí, por favor, que la semana que viene él me pidió una fecha. Yo le dije, antes del 15 de julio, porque quiero presentar las camisetas con los jugadores en la tribuna ya terminada, le dije. Si es que se llega al monto. Y le dije, por favor, en el transcurso, mandame video mientras se esté haciendo la camiseta para repostearlo y subirlo ya, y que la gente vea que es verídico, que esto es real y que estamos haciéndolo ya.
Okay. He asked the guy to have the jerseys ready, the whole suit equipment ready for July 15, because it's the time that he's planning to have the work done at the stadium done for the Monero Popular ready. So he wants to have both things ready at the same time, right? And he asked the guy to give him, I think he said he paid 2.6 Monero for the whole t-shirts and stuff, the order. And he asked the guy to provide regular updates or little videos stuff, so people can see that the jerseys are actually being made and it's not like a scam or something.
Fantastic.
The Moneros are actually being used to make those things.
De lo más importante, por ejemplo, de intercambios, yo quiero destacar las donaciones de, por ejemplo, de Trocador App, el intercambio, también de Monero Markets, que fueron los que dieron una donación bastante grande con respecto a los demás, y que además de su usuario va a ir el logo, porque ellos no son solamente usuarios, sino que son herramientas más importantes dentro del ecosistema de Monero, y quiero que sepan que, no sé si estarán o lo van a ver, que ellos van a ir además de su usuario con el logo.
¿Los dos? ¿Trocador y Monero Market? ¿Los dos van con logo, Trocador y Monero Market?
Por ahora, Monero Market y Trocador, que son los que donaron y que me escribieron.
And he wants to make a big shout out to Trocador and also to Monero Market, because they not only donated to like a normal amounts to get the name into the work, but they also like donated way more money, so they are gonna get their logos on the site as well.
No sabía cómo diseñar
on the stadium.
Yeah, suppose. ¿Dónde van a ir los logos? ¿En la parte de atrás de la popular?
Ustedes, sí, eso quería pasar a explicar. La tribuna, yo no tengo capacidad de edición para visualizar cómo iba a quedar. La tribuna pintada va a ser fraccionada en naranja, amarillo, naranja, amarillo, naranja, amarillo, y el respaldo y la cabina, como ustedes la ven, será todo naranja. En el respaldo va a estar escrito todos los usuarios que donaron, y a los que no me quisieron decir quiénes eran, van a ir usuario anónimo.
Esa es buena.
Sí.
Un montón de anónimos. Entonces, ¿es en la pared de atrás de las gradas o en la pared de atrás?
El respaldo, claro, exactamente.
El respaldo de las gradas. Sí, bien.
Y en la cabina para agregar, va a ir el logo de Libertad y el logo de Monero. Hay justamente dos sectores de arriba de la cabina para que vaya perfecto ahí de frente.
You have the sitting rows, you know. And then you have at the top, you have like a little cabin for press, right? So all the grades, all the seats are going to be painted yellow and orange, which is the colors of the club, yellow and orange. But the press cabin is going to be full orange, and on each side of the press cabin, on one side you're going to have the Club Libertad shield, the logo of the club, and on the other one you have the Monero logo.
Beautiful.
And on the back side of the sitting area, you have like a big wall that is the back of the sitting area. That's the wall where all the donators' names are going to be written in. Those who wanted to provide a name for them, some of them didn't. So for everyone I think this is a great idea. For everyone that didn't want their name on it, they're just going to put anonymous.
Nice.
So you will see a lot of anonymous.
That's fantastic.
Donators.
I'm blown away by the story and the amount of effort he's put in here and the actual progress he's made with this. It's amazing.
And the circular economy they have going on that. That is really awesome.
Yeah.
Para ahora,
sí. Dame un segundito. The thing that happens here is that really about 50% of the economy is the black market, so to speak. Is either cash based, or now you have lots and lots of people. It's not as anonymous as cash, but lots of people doing just fintech kind of money, like it was. They are not bank transfers. You have like the equivalent of eBay or something like that. Here you have, it's like an Alipay or something like that, right? So you have balances of pesos in there, so people just do peer-to-peer for stuff, or they pay to each other all the time without making any invoice or without like doing taxes for that. For now, at least it works, right? Because nobody goes
because
to
it's
jail.
safer, right? Like it's more of a safe haven compared to the local currency.
And taking into account that also the biggest bill that we have here is I think now we have a 2,000 pesos. I haven't seen.
Tengo una mala noticia.
What?
So somebody's asking, how much funding does the football team need to enter the full pro league? Is that even like a I have no idea how that works. Is that even a?
Tengo una mala noticia todavía. Después de pagar el juego de camisetas, ¿sí? ¿Digo?
No, venga un segundo. They have perdón. Se mezclaron los cassettes. Tiene una pregunta que querían saber eso. Querían saber cuántos fondos necesita el equipo para entrar a la liga profesional. Yo le contestaría que en realidad ya está en la liga profesional.
Nosotros somos un equipo afiliado a la AFA porque pertenecemos a una liga afiliada a la AFA. Nosotros tenemos
¿Qué liga es?
Jurídico para llegar, pero no es el objetivo porque es muy difícil, más por un tema de mover tanto fondo para jugar un partido, ya salir de la provincia, jugar contra otro equipo. Ya se necesita otro tipo de articulación y otro tipo de manejo. Nosotros estamos muy lejos de una zona de liquidez grande, por ejemplo, para cambiar mucho Monero por pesos argentinos, pero estoy todavía adentrándome un poco más y tratando de ver la forma, porque, por ejemplo, para la tribuna, yo ya he pagado el juego de las camisetas. Y en este momento...
Para un segundo. O sea, lo que vos estás diciendo es, para contestarles concretamente esto antes, es, técnicamente no hay ninguna diferencia entre vos y un club de primera, digamos, en lo legal. Digamos. Es solamente una cuestión de rendimiento deportivo e ir ganando las capas.
Ascendiendo liga a liga podemos llegar. Necesitamos ganar 4 ligas.
Technically, it's not a matter of, it's a matter of money after all. But it's like legally they are already a member of the professional league, the Professional Association of Argentinian Soccer. The only thing between them and the biggest clubs in the country is just a matter of sport performance. I mean, they have to keep winning matches and getting to a higher tier of the league and a higher and a higher and a higher until you reach like the top league here, which is the A league. The biggest one is the A, and they have B, C, D, and a lot of different in betweens. But when it comes to funding, what is tricky is that the club has to cover by itself for every expenses. So if you have a match that is outside of the province, so to speak, to be able to play in some league, the club has to be able to afford I don't know, the ticket for every player, and it gets very expensive very fast. So unless you really have like a big club behind you, it's very difficult, even if you play super well. That's what I mean.
Sin dejar de pasar que llamaríamos mucho la atención, también empezaríamos a tener bastantes problemas. Bueno,
and also, even if it were the case that they got the money somehow, even here it will raise some attention that a very small club suddenly has the money to be able to afford such campaigns, right? So, even here, which is a very low standard. Yes.
De primera mano.
You guys are doing a great job, by the way. So wait, for people who are watching this that didn't donate yet, I think there's a lot of excitement behind this now. I know I'm excited. Is there more? So obviously they're still looking for donations, and there's more that people can do. Like, what's the best way to help the club out at this point?
Sí, dice, todavía, o sea, eso, ¿cuál es el trabajo que queda por hacer y si todavía están buscando donaciones y para qué?
En este momento, después de pagar las camisetas, nos quedó un saldo de $750 en este momento. Todavía nosotros, todo lo que es refacción de tribuna, todo eso, va a tener una presentación con dron. Yo quiero que el Estadio de Libertad, que como todos lo están viendo, justo Libertad se llama y coincide con los colores fuertes de Monero, todo eso, quiero hacer una buena presentación para que con los chicos, con la camiseta ahí arriba de la tribuna, para que sea todo perfecto. Hay muchas cosas.
¿Cuánto dijiste que te quedaban?
1.400, y quedan $700, faltarían para la recaudación inicial. Después de haber pagado las camisetas, porque las camisetas ya están pagadas.
Las camisetas están, pero ¿te falta juntar 700 y pico o 700 y pico solo que todavía tenés de lo que juntaste?
No, tengo 700 después de pagar las camisetas y me faltan 700 para llegar a...
tenés...
No, perdón. No. Me faltarían 7 más 4. ¿Cuánto sería? No. 300, 700, no. $400 me faltarían. $400 de Monero.
He still has 700 something USD left after the purchase of the t-shirts and all that for the work, right? And he's still missing 400 más o menos.
Sí, 400.
He's still missing 400 to be able to do the whole job, the whole work on the tribunes and all that, right? So that's what is still missing, and he wants to make a big presentation when it's ready next month with a drone footage and all that, because he finds it very interesting or noteworthy that the club is called Freedom, it's called Libertad, and the club has the colors of orange and all that already. So it looked like a match made in heaven for Monero. It looks like the Monero football club, basically.
Yeah. Hay más cosas, por ejemplo, los baños están deteriorados, el banco de suplente queremos arreglarlo también, pero no quiero ir más, no quiero molestar tanto tampoco a la gente. Yo sé que le gustó la idea y además tengo ya más de 10 pedidos de camisetas para enviar al exterior. Y una vez que lleguen las camisetas,
no me pidas que traduzca detonado para un baño, pero
no.
He said, like, of course, there's always something more to do at the place. For example, he said that the bathrooms are not in the best conditions possible, so to speak. But he doesn't want to ask for more, even more.
donations.
How to say that? Yeah, even especially before start delivering stuff,
Okay.
So people see that they are for real.
So then he'll come back and they'll ask for more donations for
perhaps other... I suppose so. But he literally said that he didn't want to bother the community or people too much about the whole thing. That it was some idea that they have, and people got very excited for it. And he can see, but he also has like work to do for his own personal life.
Yeah.
So and they already have, I think he says like 10 orders for jerseys from abroad that they want their own t-shirts. So they had to look into how to do that and ship abroad.
Yeah, I want to order one of those.
A lot of stuff going on the few very few days, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. So he's gonna have to come in and check in with us from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him that. To Alejandro, you have to come back on.
Alessandro dice que vos tenés que
aprender inglés por empezar.
sí, también. No, que no pierdas el rastro, que le sigas comentando de vez en cuando, apareciendo en el programa y contando cómo va con el progreso con el club y todo eso, que no pierdas el contacto, básicamente.
Yo voy publicando, apenas bajen las piedras, voy a estar ahí grabando el video, le quiero subir todo bajo el hilo, no quiero perder nada, que se pierda el rastro de nada. Es más, ya estoy pensando, mi problema grande es el tema de las camisetas, enviar al exterior. Todavía no tengo que hablar con la del correo, cómo tengo que hacer y todo eso.
Es literalmente una patada en las pelotas. Sí.
Viene un amigo de corriente a ayudarme para el día de la presentación.
Okay. He still... you won't believe it, but it's very cumbersome and difficult to send. It's very difficult to get things into the country. I mean, to import stuff or to buy stuff from abroad. They make it very, very hard and very expensive. But it's also very difficult to send stuff abroad. Yeah. So he's making the arrangements with the postman and all that. How can we send T-shirts to some other countries? Basically, I'm telling you, this is going to be very expensive. I mean, it's probably the same price for the shipping than for the T-shirt, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe you could have them. Maybe you could have them printed somewhere else outside of the country, and I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
This is fantastic. I mean, you've heard with other cryptos, obviously with Bitcoin. I remember with Doge was one of the first when they tried to sponsor a NASCAR. I don't know if you remember that, way back in the day, and it was pretty cool. But
the bobsled.
Yeah, but it didn't come out of organic movement where somebody in NASCAR was using Doge. It was the Doge community just trying to kind of pull a scheme where they would get their name out using NASCAR. What's beautiful about the story is it naturally evolved out of, Alejandro's organic interest in Monero because of a use case, because they were trying to gamble online and they got to know Monero through that, and through their own because of that they came to the Monero community saying, hey, maybe you guys want to donate. So it came in the opposite direction. It wasn't the Monero community looking for,
it wasn't top down.
We're looking for a cheesy way to get the name out by just associating themselves with things. It was these people that found their way to Monero now saying, hey, let's get the word out on Monero and get donations. So this is awesome. This is really
and it's just un segundo. It's kind of funny to me because of course I am from Argentina, but the other instance that I know that is kind of similar, not the same, but is the whole. I think it is the Belfort Club, the one.
The Bitcoin.
The Bitcoin. How's the name of the guy? I don't know now.
Oh my God, Peter McCormick.
Peter McCormick. Yes. Yeah. That actually bought a small soccer team in England, and I'm sure the city of the town is super lovely and very British and all that, full of pubs and everything, and if you have to know Formosa, but even Argentina in general, It's totally not like that. But it's the same. But I suppose it's the same comparison that you can make between going to a Bitcoin conference right now nowadays, or I went to La BitConf, and it's super. It's not new by any means. It's one of the oldest Latin American Bitcoin conference and all that. And it's basically nowadays it's a very commercial centric conference, right?
Right.
And you can see that everybody's just like fintech and doing stuff like that. And you go to Monerotopia, and Monerotopia is the Libertad club of the Bitcoin clubs. It has nothing to do. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's just regular people doing regular stuff, enjoying.
But organic too.
And it's super organic. I mean, we already discussed this
thing. I don't think the soccer club was like already like actively.
No, not at all. It probably just was cheap for his like Bitcoin wallets. But I already told you, Argentina is a breeding ground for stuff like Monero, right?
Dos cositas quería agregar, Andrés.
Sí.
Que vamos a estar sorteando entre los donadores y entre los usuarios que interactúen camiseta Libertad, y se la vamos a enviar una vez que yo termine de la presentación y todo eso. Del envío de la camiseta voy a sortear camisetas personalizadas. Van a llevar frases también respectivas sobre Monero, las que son personalizadas. Y segundo, que volviendo al tema de la...
de cómo vas a enviar
pesos.
¿Peso mundial?
¿Cómo?
El envío a cualquier país.
Sí, a todo el mundo,
Entre los que donaron, o los que donan.
Entre los que donaron va a haber un sorteo. Entre los que donaron va a haber un sorteo de camiseta, y entre los que interactuaron también otro.
Ok. ¿Y sabes cuántas?
Y tengo pensado entre 5 a 10 camisetas sortear.
Okay. He's going to make a contest. I mean, a contest, like a raffle, is for free. He's going to be giving away T-shirts of the club to those who donated or donate in the future to this initiative that is currently going on. And also, he has like 2 sets of raffles, one between the donors and one between people that just interacted with them on Twitter on the thread about the thing. So you have
si no lo puedo enviar desde acá, lo hago desde Paraguay, que me queda 100 kilómetros acá, y paso la frontera y lo hago.
Estoy seguro que es más fácil.
Entonces,
I think he said in the beginning, but where is this in Argentina? Is this like outside of Buenos Aires? Like where is this happening?
Argentina is very big.
Yeah. Where's the club?
It's right near the top, at the north. Almost is 300 kilometers from Paraguay.
Okay.
And from Buenos Aires must be like, ¿cómo de Buenos Aires? Como 900, ¿cuánto es?
De 1000 kilómetros de Buenos Aires.
1,000 kilometers from Buenos Aires and 300 kilometers from Paraguay.
Okay.
Y que la plata de la refacción para la tribuna y la pintura, eso sí voy a tener que cambiarlo en local Monero ya para salir a pesos, porque los muchachos dueños de la ferretería no creo que conozcan Monero.
No, si no ya le ponías el nombre a la provincia directamente. No, he's going to say that he's very sorry, but wants the community to know that the money for the work that is going to be done at the site, sadly they will have to change the Moneros on local Monero for pesos, because the guys from basically the masons and the guy from the hardware store yet doesn't take Monero. So they will have to change it for pesos.
They didn't realize they could use it for gambling yet. They haven't.
Yes, of course.
Andrés,
we got
to
go ahead, Alejandro.
Por el espacio a Douglas y más que nada a toda la comunidad. Es increíble la predisposición que tienen. Yo no pensé que esto iba a tener tanta repercusión y que en un día iba a conseguir esto. Para nosotros es muchísimo. Cuando se los conté ayer en la reunión en el club, no podían creer. Yo tardaron meses y meses para conseguir financiación para un juego de camisetas, y que esto se logre en un día, esta gente lo valora demasiado, lo valora.
Nadie profeta en su tierra.
Sí.
Y aparte viste con la moneda más buena onda del condado. A veces las cosas son así y se dan. He wants to thank you, Douglas, personally for the space and the visibility that you are giving the project and the club. And also the same goes to the community as a whole, the way that they interact and the exposition that they gave to the whole club and all that. He had no idea. He really didn't have any idea how big this could be or how fast the community was going to respond. And he's still amazed. And all the guys, he told that the guys at the team spent months trying to raise money to change the shirts, and they couldn't. To be able to just ask for it and get it done in 24 hours, basically, they still can't believe it. I mean, that was literally his words, and they're very, very grateful to be able to have found the Monero community.
Awesome. Yeah, Alejandro, man. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for being a genuine Monero user. This is just so exciting to witness. Please come on again. Give us updates. For people watching, follow him on Twitter. It's Libertad _CA Cal. I'm sure he'll be continuing to give us updates on the soccer league and the different things they're doing to improve it. But I think we got to move on at this point because we're over our 2 hours and 40 minutes. But we'll continue to check in. You can come on anytime with updates. Please do.
Antes de cerrar.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. This is
Última cosa, Alessandro, porque ya hace 3 horas que están hablando, están tratando de cerrar. No saben que hay 2 argentinos hablando sin parar. Dale.
Tengo una donación entrante que he completado y hasta un poco más de lo que estoy recibiendo una donación muy grande. En total, ahí terminé de sincronizar la wallet.
¿Ahora?
De 6 moneros.
Wow.
Ya hemos superado incluso los 1400, así que van a haber muchas más cosas ampliadas en el club ahora.
It's official. They just received a 6 Monero donation. Just recently, is syncing the wallet and he's just
amazing. Congratulations!
So forget about everything that we already said because the amount is raised already. They're going to start work right now.
Fantastic! Congratulations, man! Congratulations!
Increíble.
Was it anonymous or you don't know yet, right? Well, if we'll see if somebody.
¿Sabe quién fue? No.
Was it an anonymous donation?
Anónimo.
No he visto, todavía no me han etiquetado todavía en el Twitter para saber con el hash de la transacción de quién fue.
He still doesn't know because it actually really just appeared on the wallet. So maybe someone will tweet out the transaction ID to claim it, but it was just now live appeared.
Fantastic.
I bet that is thanks to your program, Doug. So basically, you just run a fundraiser live for a very obscure Argentinian football club on a northern province.
That was the goal, man. That was 100% the goal. Trying to bring attention to anybody that's working on any Monero-related project, especially in a way like this. I mean, the amount of energy, effort he's putting into it, and making like real progress with it. He's not just talking. This is insane.
Está dormido, era el balance total. Son $300 lo que recibí. Estaba tan colgado ya con el balance. 300 recibí, 300. $300. $300.
No, pero ¿cuántos moneros?
En total.
No, los que recibiste recién.
2.5.
2.5 moneros. He just got. 2.5.
Still extremely
vale.
donation.
Para nosotros
it's still a lot. It's still a lot.
It's
only a few Monero, a few money left, but he will probably get it.
Andreas, I know we've kind of mentioned it multiple times, right? This idea of potentially doing Monerotopia down in Buenos Aires in Argentina. I don't know. I feel like the universe is telling me in so many different ways that we got to do it down there. We'll have the soccer club participating.
It's far away. I know it's far away, but yeah.
We have somebody else that was posting on Twitter that they're accepting Monero and Bitcoin at their market in Argentina, where they're selling. Looks like they're selling groceries and stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if they are related because it's the same province. So perhaps I'm almost sure. I'm almost sure they are part of the same WhatsApp group.
That's fantastic.
Andrés, ¿de qué parte
sos? Monerotopia over there.
Wait, what?
I was saying maybe we'll do Monerotopia over there in the province. We could do it in the soccer stadium over there. All right, guys, we're gonna close it out just because we all have to move on with our day here. We still have to run the news segment. Thank you so much, Alejandro. Thank you, man. Good luck with everything. Keep in touch. Andreas, amazing job. Thanks for jumping up here and explaining everything.
Muchas gracias, Andrés. Te agradezco, amigo. Nos salvaste.
Gracias, Dice, gracias a vos, Alessandro, por aparecer y por contarlos a todos del club y todo.
Gracias. Adios. All right. Wow.
That's really, really awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah. Very exciting. I love that they just jumped on here and we had like an hour-long conversation. I mean,
it was super good though.
So much more than I thought it was going to be. I just thought it was like somebody who is kind of into Monero and then using it as a way to, raise some funds, right?
Whole
story there.
They mentioned that they just got their donation amount that they needed, right?
Yeah.
They surpassed that? That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to we'll run the news and we'll close it out. I gotta make moves over here. My daughter's waiting for me. Let's run the news section, right? And
let's do that.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Hey guys, and welcome to the news section. Hope you had a good week. Today we have a lot of interesting articles, so let's dive in. The first thing that I want to mention is Monero is used by criminals. We hear this a lot, and people just hear Monero is used by criminals, and then they say, oh, I don't want to be associated with it, as if when you decide to use Monero, then all the criminals have your location now and they can see where you are, and then you're identified with the criminals. Perhaps they don't know, but that Monero is private, and nobody knows that you even have Monero, so you're not associated with the criminals. And if the criminals use it, that means that it's safe enough for everybody against any kind of censorship, right? Because that's what we want. We want ultimately, we want freedom, tools of freedom that cannot be censored. And this person, Luke Profits, made a point that, you know what else is used by criminals? Lawnmowers, this phone, the telephone, shoes, cars, coffee. Like criminals use this stuff too. And you can use those shoes to walk and do a criminal activity, or you can use those shoes to walk on a treadmill or go to work or do something benevolent, right? So it is such a line. It is, such an antiquated line, and people shouldn't use it anymore as an attack vector on Monero. And that was my text message. It's loud and annoying, and maybe you didn't hear it, but if you did, that's what it was. Anyway, so next thing that I want to get into is Blackrock and Bitcoin, because this is a huge thing. We're not going to get into a lot of detail, but I want to at least mention it. So the sponsor will, being Blackrock, uses discretion to determine which network should be considered the appropriate network. There's no guarantee that the sponsor will choose a digital asset that is ultimately the most valuable fork. And we have Chris Black, and here's what he wrote. Medium-term attack vector. US government will hard fork Bitcoin to a proof-of-stake chain. They call it Bitcoin, right? Validators will be whitelisted if they meet certain regulatory requirements. Of course. 21 million cap will be removed. This is what he thinks. All on and off ramps for a Bitcoin proof of work chain will be nuked and replaced with all on and off ramps for a fake Bitcoin POS chain, proof of stake chain. You'll get 25% redemption rate on the POS chain for each Bitcoin from the non-government POW proof of work chain that is still to the government. One proof of work Bitcoin, you get 0.25 POS fake Bitcoin, right? To make it to incentivize you to use it. So real proof of work, not to use it, but to change into that. Real proof of work Bitcoin will still exist. It will just be harder to on and off ramp and would face massive propaganda warfare. So this scenario doesn't mean that Bitcoin has failed. It just means that it will be up against the final boss with outcome unknown, which is very interesting. There's a lot of attacks that could be made on Bitcoin in the future. And I'm curious in the direction in which it's going to go. This is not the only problem. It has other problems as well, such as the fees, right? When I'm going to have all the 21 million coins, what's going to happen after that? What will the miners do? So there's a lot of questions in mind when it comes to Bitcoin. And so just wanted to quickly mention this. And maybe Doug, or if anybody wants to hop on the show and discuss this in more detail on Twitter, please do. Cake wallets. So if you're worried about the fees, and you shouldn't be worried about the fees, because whenever I use Monero, the fees are 0.000.1. So it's absolutely nothing every single time you use Monero. The fees are very, very low, and the more Monero is used, right, the higher the usage, the lower the fees. This is how the system works. But just wanted to mention that Cake Wallet has discounts when buying gift cards. So if the person that you want to transact with does not accept Monero directly, you can buy a gift card through Cake Wallet with your Monero, and you can use it at Adidas and a lot of different stores. So make sure that you look into it and check it out and use it. It's a very good feature. Now let's get into CBDCs, because I have a couple of CBDC articles. So for the people watching on Twitter, I'm showing an image from Wall Street Silver. It says CBDC will give them control over every aspect of your life. And there's a picture of the US dollar, a stack of US $100 bills, and there's an on and off switch on it. What does that mean? That means that your privacy will have an on and off switch, because they can just see where you use your money at any point, just by turning off your privacy that they promise you to have, right? And they can also say, oh, you can use it in that country. So off, can use your dollars. Oh, you can purchase that. You bought too much meat for this week, so off, which is essentially communism. I mean, we had that thing during communism in Eastern Europe, and that's where I'm from. And I haven't been through it, but my parents have, and they told me about it. And I read books on it and documentaries and stuff like that. And it's fun, and there's still repercussions that we have in the country. So not fun. We've had this before, not digitally, but digital version is coming. Now let's get into CBDC. And so this is a very interesting project that I can't wait to talk about when it does become available to us as well. But the CBDC Human Rights Tracker revealed at Oslo Freedom Forum. Behind this project is Alex Gladstein, and the first phase of the HRF CBDC tracker is now live. So what is this thing? Essentially what it is, it's a tool in which you can track the development of CBDCs and whether they align with human rights, or whether they infringe with human rights. So you can check authoritarian countries and what they're doing and how they develop the CBDC. So it's a pro-Bitcoin nonprofit. It will flag potential civil liberty concerns as more countries are expected to develop CBDC technology. Very interesting, and I can't wait to actually show it on the news when it does become available for us as well. Now, as more countries are expected to develop CBDC technology. So that means that CBDC is coming, and I do feel that it is coming, but I like how especially the US likes to use the line, and other countries as well, I think the UK and other ones, that, we're just doing research, but we don't know whether CBDC is going to happen. Well, it is going to happen, and we already have CBDCs. And actually, if we scroll down in this article, well, guess what? We have the Bahamas Cent Dollar, we have the Jamaican Gem Dex, and the EU Naira in Nigeria. And guess what they've done in Nigeria? Nobody wanted to use the CBDC, and we talked about it in other news section. We had 0.5% usage of the EU Naira, and guess what? They just went full on war on cash, and they eliminated a large part of the supply. And now people are forced to use the CBDC Naira, and that's how they're going to do it. But the United States Treasury official Graham Steele told an audience at the Texas Payments Conference that a future central bank digital currency in America should consider anonymity. Right? Privacy should be considered in potential retail CBDC, but he said, it is important that we consider that the extent to which privacy and anonymity might be preserved and explore the technologies and methods available, including privacy-enhancing technologies, to enable such protections in the design of any potential retail CBDC. But he also wants to minimize illegal transaction at the same time. So what does that mean? Again, we're going back to the image with the on and off switch. You're not going to have full-on privacy and anonymity, because if you do, there's this you can't minimize illegal transactions because you don't even know that they're occurring in the first place, right? Because you can't even see the transactions. So minimizing would mean that you actually don't have any privacy at all, right? It's like you're in your house, but we can make your walls, imagine if it's just windows, right? And you have curtains, but we can just take off the curtains at any point that we want just to check on you to make sure that you're not doing anything or stuff like that. And they can also, of course, implement other things that are not nice as well, such as things that we discussed. You reach your meat quota, you meet your chocolate quota, you can't have many more chocolate, stuff like that. Or you can purchase from that country because we have a political conflict, so you can't use your dollar in that country, or we want to keep the dollars in this country, stuff like that. So these are just lies, my feelings and what I've been reading, and by me not trusting the government. So this is my thoughts on this. Then I just want to quickly mention Ripple partnering with Colombia. So Colombia is looking into CBDC. Then we have Thailand that launches retail CBDC pilot with 2 banks in Singapore payment service. So we have Thailand, Singapore, Colombia, and we have even Nigeria has CBDC. So you think that the United States is not going to have a CBDC? I feel that of course it's going to have a CBDC. We have the Fed now, so which you should look into it. So Fed now again. But the CBDCs are coming, and if people are telling you that they're not, well, yes, they are, because they want to have control over your life. Now, if you want to get outside of the CBDC phenomenon, if you are looking for something else, we have Monero, and I want to mention a couple things. The first thing is Reiya, and I think this is how you say it. It's an anonymous store relay crowdfunding with Monero. So if we look on the website, so it's REIYA.io for the people watching on Twitter or the people that don't watch this show visually. So they have raised 1.3 Monero so far, and I'm curious to see by next time how much they're going to raise. But what it is, so Reiya provides an easy way for anyone to support the Tor network by donating Monero to independent relay operators, right? So millions of people use Tor every day, but which is free, but running a relay it's not. So you can choose to donate to all, relay operators that want to receive donations based on how much they contribute to the network. So very interesting. Then EPI attack research project has been fully funded. Last week, I think only 1 Monero has been donated, and now we raised $29,000, which is amazing. So if you want to learn more about the EPI attack and how does it relate to Monero and how it's Monero's privacy weak points, make sure that you check last week's video from the dev section, and make sure that you go in and watch it and familiarize yourself with it. Last thing that I want to mention is Monerocon 2023. We had Monerotopia not too long ago. We're uploading the videos. My phone is blowing up. I'm sorry. But yeah, Monerocon 2023 is next week. It's going to be in Prague. Amazing. I'm going to be in Europe next month, so I'm not going to be able to make it, unfortunately. I swear to God, next year, Monerotopia 100%. I'm going to really try to make it. And then hopefully Monerokon as well, because it's so much fun. They have less than 100 tickets available, so make sure that you purchase your Monerokon videos. They have a travel guide, they have the schedule, so you can go check it out. And Rhino, I just wanted to quickly show this picture. It's a picture of Rhino stickers. Rhino is going to be at Monerokon. And they're going to teach you more about Rhino multi-sig wallets. So this was this week's news section, guys. Hope that you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Take care. And bye.
All right. Great as always. Thank you, Tony. Hopefully soon maybe he can start joining us live. Tux, I think that's it. We'll close it out. We're just about at 3 hours. So good though. That was good. I love that, and hopefully he can follow up with us, Libertad, and keep us updated on the fundraise and what they end up doing with this soccer team.
Of course.
Anything else, man, before we shut it down?
I don't think so. I think that was pretty much it. That was a great conversation.
We covered a lot there. All right, guys, join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Next week's show will be broadcasting from Monerokon in Prague, if we pull it off, but that is the plan. Tux, hopefully you'll be able to join us then, and you can, co-host remotely, which is you already do. And yeah, so we'll see you guys then, and I'll probably be trying to get some interviews from the conference as well in the form of Monero talks. I'll be putting those out. Monero Node. We were gonna have them on a Monerotopia, but instead I'm gonna do a full Monero talk episode on the Monero Node project. I'm looking to record that this week, maybe Tuesday before we head out for Monerocon, and we'll have Abdullah will be on that, and I think Arctic Mine is going to join us. He actually was contributing to the Monero Node project, helping Abdullah with speccing out the node. So he's going to be giving us his input and take, and we'll just be going over the details of the project. So that should be cool. Make sure to catch that one. And that's it. We're at 3 hours. Tux, this was a good one. Thanks, man.
This was good. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Cheers. Later. See you guys next week.